Ramadan, welcome holy month Ramadan, Ahlan Ramadan, 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 welcome holy month Ramadan, Ahlan Ramadan. Ramadan, welcome holy month Ramadan, Ahlan Ramadan.
I begin in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. Alhaji Setima, as ably represented today by Dr. Ahmed Baba Ahmed. Akim Baba Ahmed, you are welcome. His Royal Majesty Oba Professor Adeyeye Olaleye, the Oloka of Ota, the Vice Chancellor, University of Lagos, Professor Bolasade Ogunsola, FAS, ably represented by Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Aisha. She's Aisha. She told you. Professor Ayo Asenwa. They have been renamed Aisha. The guest speaker and chairman of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Mr. Lee Niso. The discussants at today's program, Dr. Jibril Salaudin and Professor Jamila Yato. Our spiritual father and model, Morka Abdul Salam Bede, Sheikh Dawood Afala Abdulmojid Eleha, and of course, the chairman of the Ummah Board of Trustees, and also the President, Muslim Ummah of Nigeria, and Deputy President, Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, my President Alhaji Rasaki Oladejo, and the National President, University of Lagos Muslim Alumni, Professor Kadi Adekoya. Other guests here present, brothers and sisters in Islam. I once again salute you in the most noble greetings in the sight of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me start this address by noting that I'm standing in for the chairman of this occasion, the president of Madam Yusuf Olawale, senior advocate of Nigeria, is unavoidably absent due to other engagements and busy schedules. We requested me to thank the Unilag Muslim and others for the honor of being invited as chairman of their flagship program, the Ramadan lecture, which has become a significant and also cycle to the commencement of the annual Ramadan fast, especially in Lagos and neighboring states of southwest Nigeria. I therefore present this address on his behalf. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for which I must thank the leadership of the University of Lagos Muslim Alumni for considering me worthy of being invited as chairman of this annual event. I commend Ummah for the painstaking effort to organize and sustain this program in the last 29 years. It is indeed a great feat And I pray Allah to reward you and support you to keep the program going for as long as we wish. I join you and the generality of Muslims worldwide to give thanks to Allah for preserving our lives till now, and pray to Him to stay alive, to witness and observe the fast approaching Ramadan in a good state of health and prosperity. Amen. As is usual with Ummah, this period of the year affords us another opportunity to reflect on the state of our nation by examining contemporary issues of national concern and provide ideas that will help to promote a sustainable socio-economic development of our dear nation, Nigeria. It is in this light that I find the theme of this year's lecture very apt. The short of the topic is titled Economic Reform for Nigeria, Challenges and Prospects for the Future. It is a failure to kill two birds with one stone. It attempts to take care of today with a view to securing a better future for our people. Furthermore, the theme of guest speaker and discussants who have assembled is also formidable. It is a rare combination of academics and practitioners, and I have no doubt that our policy makers and indeed everyone here and outside will find the conversation beneficial and take away useful knowledge and lessons. The inclusion of the spiritual, or if you like, the religious angle to the conversation is also commendable, as it recognizes that fact that man is incomplete without divine guidance and obedience to his Lord. Without prejudice to the guest speakers and discussants, permit me to make the following general remarks. Nigeria, like other countries in the world, have always found the need to embark on economic reforms to reposition their economy towards greater economic growth and development, as well as prosperity for the people. Economic reform is therefore not new to Nigeria. We have had it in one form or another in successive administrations, both military and civilian. The reforms, without exception, always come with hardship, especially for the common man. It is noteworthy, however, that the hardship which economic reform initiated by the current administration, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, appears unprecedented. The fuel subsidy removal and the floating of the foreign exchange are major reforms which directly impact on inflation and disposable income of our people. It coincides with a period in Nigeria where the country is going through social turbulence, which manifests in series of kidnapping, abduction, banditry, farmer federal clashes, and general insecurity. It is common knowledge that the administration inherited an economy characterized by monoproducts with overdependence on oil exports for government revenue. Unfortunately, this has also witnessed dwindling income rotational priorities. In addition, and more fundamentally, the economy disproportionately relied on the primary sector without any meaningful value addition. Consequently, the little growth in the economy has been without commensurate employment and equitable wealth distribution. On the contrary, unemployment is on the increase with over 63% of the population in multi-dimensional poverty. There is high local and foreign debt, with high dependence on imports, poor infrastructure, low GDP, poor productivity, weak institutions, corruption, and poor corporate governance, among others. On the flip side, however, it is itself a global recognition that Nigeria has all the potentials of socio-economic greatness. There is abundant human and natural resources, including minerals and vast agricultural land, which require visionary leadership to advance for sustainable economic growth and development, as well as prosperity and abundance for the benefit of the citizens. Given this scenario, the need for economic reform is therefore imperative. More so that a new administration came into power less than a year ago. The benefits and prospects of the work thought out and diligently implemented economic reform are enormous and capable of transforming the economy on the path of sustainable growth and development. However, our policymakers and leaders, and indeed our people, must brace up to overcome the challenges and sacrifices associated with the desired economic transformation for a better future. One major challenge is what I call self-reform, self-reliance. The Nigerian people must undergo character reform and the determination to truly transform the economy. There is the need to change our mindset, to endure the pain, the sacrifice, and discipline required to transform an economy from a consumption to production. Our economic reform must refocus our attention and energy on production and service delivery. Consumption without production can never bring about prosperity. Government must be at the vanguard of strong advocacy and lead by example. Any reform that does not reduce cost of governance but continues to appropriate the overall benefit to political office holders and those in government by allocating huge resources to live and sustainable luxury life is a waste of time. The government and the people must appreciate the fact that only Nigeria can truly make Nigeria great. Once again, the government and the people must appreciate the fact that only Nigerians can truly make Nigeria great. We must take pride in our nation and what we produce. We must consume what we produce and produce what we consume. We must also have a strong will to protect local industries from unfair international trade policies which endangers unfair competition. Furthermore, there must be strong political will to tackle corruption and greed, punish infractions, deter bad behaviour which tend to promote economic sabotage. There must be transparency, accountability, honesty, sincerity, and truly committed leadership. We must overcome the challenge of insecurity and provide a peaceful and conducive atmosphere for economic activities. Perhaps thanks to character is challenge of weak institutions. The prevalent weak institutions are poor corporate governance as well as poor ethical standard and conduct in most public and private institutions hinder economic reform. Our regulatory and supervisory institutions must be driven by technology, strong adherence to rules and regulations if they are to be effective in implementation of economic reforms. I must also add that the Nigerian economic reform must go beyond the national level to involve subnational to truly succeed. The state and indeed all arms of government must relate to join hands and work in the same direction, irrespective of political differences and affiliations. The subnational must complement the microeconomic reform policies to ensure that the domestic business climate is improved upon to promote private sector investment and participation. In conclusion, the economic reforms are desirable and achievable, but require the strong support of the population and government officials. The pragmatic attitude of the reformer and political leaders, as well as the stability of the political system. And finally, and as Muslims, we must not leave our prayers for our leaders at all. We must continue to pray to Allah to guide them aright. Permit me to end this speech on a prayer note. I ask Allah to preserve us all upon goodness and count us among those who will observe this year's Ramadan and many more in the future. May He strengthen us in faith and in His worship and reward our efforts as well. We ask Him to grant us the goodness of this world and in the hereafter, and save us from the torment of hellfire. Amen. Once again, I congratulate the large Muslim alumni. I thank you all for your effort and your time, and as well the audience at today's occasion. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Thank you. Alhamdulillah, we thank our Father, Al-Hadi Sadi Tadewale Shunaki, the representative of the chairman of today's occasion, for giving us that chairman's work of others. While the others were on, so many of our expected guests that also came. First to start with is the representative, all the Vice President of Nigeria, all of the Vice President is Al-Hadi Kashif Shatima, who is here, ably represented by the SA Political Matters in the Office of the VP, Dr. Akib Baba Ahmed. You are very much welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Also in our midst is our royal father of today. And our royal father for today is the Olota of Ota, His Royal Majesty, Oba Professor. It's not always very, very common that you have such a combination. So we have Oba Professor Adiyemi Oba Lanlege. Thank you very much. All right. So we also have in our list our father, Al-Haji Juma Ali Uluwafu. You are very much welcome to recognize the presence. We also have the immediate past chairman of the National Hajj Commission, Al-Haji Barisa Zidullah Hassan. You are very much welcome, sir. All right. So at this juncture, I'll be moving on to the very next item on the program.
Thank you so much for our invited guests. It is exactly for honoring us with your presence. So our Holy Father, the representative of the Vice President, and Dr. Baba Ahmed. Inshallah, we'll move straight to the welcome address by Chief Host of today's occasion, Professor Folashade Ogunsola, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, represented by the DVC Development Services. Permit me to introduce you as Ayodele Aisha Asewa, Professor Zavala.
Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Nigeria, will be represented by Dr. Kashim Shettima. Dr. Kashim Shettima, GCOA, will be represented by Dr. Akim Ahmed, Special Advisor to the Vice President of political matters. The chairman of today's occasion, Madam Yusuf Olaodu Ali, SAN, who is ably represented by Chief Rani Shonai. Kindly tell their representative, kindly help tell Madam Yusuf Olaodu Ali that I look forward so much to seeing him today because he was my boss during youth service. I worked at the law firm there, then he was the head of teams. Fortunately, it is not to be today. The Deputy Vice Chancellor, Management Services, Professor Lucian Kipis, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academics and Research, Professor Balani Obo. The Registrar of the University of Lagos, Mrs. Orakuni Makote, the Provost, College of Medicine, Professor Adirani Duli Anthony. The Director, Quality Assurance at the University of Lagos, our Professor Saidi. Kabiyesi, the Olota of Ota. The Chair, Board of Trustees, University of Lagos Muslim Alumni Association. The next speaker of today, Mr. Lee Yusuf, the Chair, MSD, welcome you and distinguished discussants as well. The President of the University of Lagos Muslim Alumni Association, Professor Khalid Adekoya, is able executive, distinguished guests, distinguished members of the University of Lagos community, which necessarily includes the members of the University of Lagos Alumni Association. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the University of Lagos this morning on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Folashade Tolulope Amira Ogushola, FAS OON, our 13th Vice Chancellor, who remarkably is our first female Vice Chancellor. She has asked me to express her great delight on behalf of the entire University of Lagos community to welcome you all to this 29th edition of the Pre-Ramadan lecture of the University of Lagos Muslim Alumni Association. This is because for us, this is a very remarkable moment. By the fact that this lecture is the 29th edition, we believe that the story is told already of how significant this particular event is. With an average of one lecture every year, I know that in very rare cases we can have 2 Ramadan in one Gregorian calendar year, but usually it's just one in a year, which means that often we have been about this pre-Ramadan lecture for over 25 years, for over a quarter of a century. It is telling of the vision and consistent adherence to tradition of promoting permitting scholarly work to sit side by side with religion. And so we believe that it is something to be celebrated, it is something to be embraced, and it is something that the University of Lagos Management always wants to be a part of. As you can see, we have a full delegation of the University Management here, and that is also very telling. We're always proud of our religious family, the tradition of religious harmony at the University of Lagos. At the University of Lagos, our places of worship sit next to one another. It is not unusual that we will spill into one another's spaces if need be when we have big and large events. We do not see religion as divisive. We see religion as bringing together, as bringing all the peoples in our community together. And that is why we all are here, again to signal that this is what we stand for, this is what we have. The topic of today's pre-Ramadan lecture is most apt. It is apt because it is looking at the very issues that affects everybody's life. We're sitting in this hall. Unfortunately this morning, and on that note, I have to apologize that the air conditioners are not working. They actually worked until yesterday, but one thing we learned in the University of Lagos without a doubt is that we have aging facilities. And unfortunately, the current features and characteristics of the Nigerian economy makes managing our situation, our facilities even more challenging. And on that note, I would say that if we had even thought that this topic was not of relevance to us, we know that it is of relevance to us because managing the university is proving. If it was difficult before, I do not know which other word I can use to express what it is. But the good thing about today's lecture is that we have the people at the heart of the reforms taking place. We also have the experts whose job is to engage critically with the reforms taking place from an objective perspective. And hopefully, by the time we are done here, through the rubbing of minds, we will deepen our understanding of exactly what is happening. There are too many Nigerians who are not quite clear of the direction of the economic reforms, and it is hoped that today's lecture will shed more light and enable us all to understand better. It is also expected that because there are diverse speakers from the main speaker and the discussers, including the representative of the Vice President, who will be speaking on the policy as is being as conceptualized and as is being implemented by government. We also hope that there will be some feedback that goes back even to the government in terms of how some other perspectives shed light on what we could do differently or what we could do better. It is on this note, and I am not the lecturer, that I just want to say a very warm welcome to you all again. Thank you for joining us in this 29th edition of the pre-Ramadan lecture of the University of Lagos Muslim Alumni Association. Sit back, bear with the conditions, but nonetheless, make sure you go away with the benefit of the day. Thank you very much.
Takbir. Alhamdulillah, we thank Professor Ayodele Aisha Senwa, the DVC government service representing the DVC, Professor Olashade Inshallah for that address. We thank her for that. And in the course of her address, we also have some of our dignitaries also coming. First, I'd like to introduce our father in the house, Sheikh. The second speaker for today, who would actually deliver the lecture in Yoruba language. Understand the tradition of this Ramadan lecture. We always try as much as possible to also bridge the gap between the town and the gang. And in doing that, we also try as much as possible. While we have the lecture in English, we also have someone that will also render the lecture in the language of the society. And in doing that, for today, the Qudratullah, our father, Sheikh, came in all the way from Ilorin this morning to be with us here. So you can see how much he actually respected and honored us with his presence. So join me, our fathers and mothers, as I introduce to the house the Mudir Markaz Salam, our father Sheikh Dawood, our father Abdul Majid Eleha Al-Bedewi, and our son. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Also, we will also have in the house, and I would like that he joins us on the high table here, the second discussant for today, our mother, a professor of economics all the way from Lagos State University, Professor Jamila Yabu. Very much welcome. Take care. So we also have in the house, like the BBC said earlier, that today's program we have the full complement of the University of Lagos Management. Introduce the DVCs, all the DVCs are here with us. The Provost College of Medicine is here with us. The Director Quality Assurance is here with us. We also have the TSA here with us. And right now, I've also been given told that we also have in our midst the Director of Academic Planning, University of Lagos, Professor Martin Lori. I would like to recognize your presence and you're very much welcome, sir. Get there? Alright, so we are moving gradually and we are entering into the lecture session proper. So right now, we'll be taking the first lecture, and the theme earlier, like you told us, of today's Ramadan lecture is economic reforms for Nigeria, challenges and prospects for the future. Alright, so before we do that, I will just give a brief citation. I preach one, very short one of that, of the English speaker. But before I do that, I'd like to enjoy all of us seated at the back. Please let us move forward. Let us occupy these vacant seats in the front, so that as people come in, they will fill up the spaces appropriately. So please let us move forward. Those of us at the back, please, there are spaces in the front here. Let us occupy these spaces. Thank you very much. So we do so. Thank you. All right. So may I seek the first speaker, Mr. Davis, to stand while I give his presentation. He actually wants us to skip it, so because of time. All right. So the second speaker, Mr. Davis, is the chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. He is the managing partner of Meraki Partners. He was the director of Accenture Nigeria from 2010 to 2019, and currently is also the president of National Al-Fatih Society of Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join us and welcome our first speaker, Mr. D. Yusuf, as he gives his address. Take it.
Ask the MC to speak the introduction. Because I do have a challenge. I promised the president of Duma that I will leave on the dot of 11. But I'm also attending a new federal program, and I'm hosting 10 visitors at my table. And they've already been there since 10. So I do apologize that I'll skip a number of things. But I'll stand on the well established protocols. And if you can please, you have my television. Alright, so where do you now? Let me recognize the Vice President, Gabriel Center, and also the collateral of the LSE. The Sarah, I like the President of the Muslim. And through him, all the Muslims are there, and of course through the VC, the President of the VC, I welcome all the UNILA staff and management and students who are here. The topic before me is economic reforms for Nigeria, challenges and prospects for the future. And I think in listening to the speech of the chairman, he has touched on quite a number of things, so that's made my work easier. I intend to speak on 5 things, so it goes to our time. I don't know how to coordinate ourselves. So once I say next, please just move. So it goes to the outline slide. I'll speak a bit about the current situation, which we are all familiar with anyway, and then talk a bit about some of the challenges and my view of the exciting prospects for the country, the kind of reforms and policies required. And I won't speak a lot about that because again we have Dr. Tati here from the Business Service. And then talk a bit about the way forward. So we move to the next slide. As said by the chairman of the occasion, Nigeria represents for many of us a paradox. It's the 32nd largest in terms of land mass country in the world. So there's a lot of land that can put to use. The 8th largest exporter of crude oil, the 10th largest exporter of gas. Quite a lot of natural resources, whether you're talking gold, lithium, bitumen, probably the second largest in the world. A coastline of well over 850 kilometers. That means beaches and more people go to the Caribbean for. We're trying to do that here. And over 40 million hectares of inland water, including the Niger and River Benue. 220 million vibrant, energetic individuals, diverse culture, a number of times we disagree, but in our diversity, there should be strength. And of course, we have a youthful bunch. About 70% of us are below the age of 35. And about 96% of us were not born or were born after the Civil War. So it's quite a very youthful population. The consumers of the future, the workforce of the future. Over 70 million agricultural land, which of course we put to different uses, cocoa, and etc. And many other positive things you can think about. But also on the flip side, the ease and cost of doing business is terrible. It's not easy to do business there. It's expensive to do business there. For most organizations, electricity supply is additional 35% extra cost. Security is additional 22% extra cost. And so when we lay on 35% power, 22.5% security, your product can be competitive with those in other countries. Corruption continues to be an issue, and adherence to the rule of law continues to be challenging. And so we've seen that leading to low investment. In the last 6 or 7 years, the nation has not received up to $1 billion of foreign direct investment. So that is the paradox. But what for me is a bit more concerning is that we play too much. We don't take ourselves serious enough, and there's really no sense of urgency. As far as I know, we've been talking about never expect power always. In 2016, Egypt signed a deal with Siemens, and in 3 years they delivered 14.4 gigawatt extra power. Nigeria signed a deal in 2018 with Siemens. We're still waiting. We've been importing petrol for so long, and we're doing permanent maintenance of our refineries yet for so long. Hopefully, Dangote refinery will come on stream. And 2 weeks ago, NNPC informed us that within a decade, we are likely to stop importing PMS. We say cost of governance is expensive, but in 2012, Orosaye report was submitted. Then we had our 500 NDAs. Today we have over 900 NDAs. The last time inflation was a single digit was 2017 January, and that was about the same time that farmers' leather clashes became a legal issue. And so we ask ourselves, are we really serious? The last time, or the last period we recorded high growth in terms of GDP was before pipeline modernization, was before militancy in the South. There's rapid urbanization at 53%, but we're not investing in infrastructure for the urban community. We want businesses to thrive. We want investors to come in. Yet last year, between Adamawa and Uyo, we had 154 checkpoints. So we could say there's insecurity, maybe. But 2 weeks ago, between Agbara and Seme, 46 checkpoints. Just 2 weeks ago. So there are hard issues, but there are also soft issues that we can solve easily. Nigeria is the only country that I know, since I've been traveling, that the airports will have a DSS check, you have a immigration check. In most countries, just one collaborative check. And according to Taiwo Oyedele, the chair of the Fiscal Police Commission, motorists pay 73 taxes to move their goods from the north to the south. And you wonder why things are expensive. Insecurity has chased farmers away in the last 2 years. Flooding has affected quite a number of farmland. And we wonder why there's food crisis today. And so, one begins to think that perhaps one of the major issues we have is the absence of system thinking. We think in silos. And there's also the lack of second order thinking. The second order thinking is when you think that this action I'm taking, what other actions will lead to? What will they cause? Pre-Buhari administration, we were talking about Apapa Pop, the congestion, trailers on those highways. A decade after, we are still talking about Apapa Pop, the congestion, trailers on the highway, and then we wonder why exports have not been going fast. And so, some of our problems are structural, but most of our problems are really due to our own selfishness, the lack of consequences, the little attempt at system thinking, and a very low second order thinking. And what has those things led us to? Now it has led to migration. Why those who have an option are going out. Why those who have an option are having second passports. It has led to low competitiveness of our industry and, of course, low investment, low growth, and very low human development in the country. So even though reform speaks to economic growth, reform should also speak to human development, HDI. And if you look at the HDI issue, so that's I'll move like a 4 or 5 slides. So look, go back like this slide where you have help. Right, so if you look at human development index, in terms of health, we started the health insurance scheme well over a decade ago. But up to now, less than 5% of us are covered in the health insurance scheme. Now the government has launched the basic healthcare provision form, and we hope that will help. Nigeria is 2% of the world population, but we represent 10% of global maternal death. So people die of needless causes. If you speak to education, still on that same slide, for long we talk about the number of kids out of school, or young girls getting married, or the low pass rate in WAEC, or the number of kids that are unable to complete their school. Adult literacy level in Nigeria is about 66%, with a population of 200 plus million. Adult literacy level in China, with a population of 1.3 billion, is about 94%. So again, it's not a long way to go. And where you spend your money determines or shows your priority. The 2024 budget has R&D for a certain ministry being more than the CAPEX budget of our top 4 universities, including that of University. So again, we're not putting our money in the right place. So you ask, are we really taking ourselves serious enough? Next slide, that speaks to poverty. Of the 85 million people in the workforce, only 15% have post-secondary education. The average Nigerian spends 81% of his income on 3 things: clothing, food, and shelter. Actually, spend about 55% on food. When you have telecoms, education, health, that's pretty much the entire monthly spend on. Less than 1% of us have access to credit. Less than 2% have access to insurance. And less than half of us have access to NEPA. And according to the NDSC, less than 4 million accounts have more than $500,000 naira. So it's a big country, but when you deep dive, you realize it's also a country with a lot of challenges and a very high level of inequalities. Agriculture represents half of our workforce, but our youths are also as poor as we are as a nation. Next slide. So you see the yield on farm, on maize. We can do much more than we're doing when you compare our rates with that of other plants. Maize, our yield is 14 times less than that of the leader in the world. Cassava that we do well in, our yield is 7 times less than that of the leader in the world. And so, the problem of our trade is less cash, which is what we say with the Anchor Grass program, but structural issues around seed, variety, irrigation, oil farming, etc. So that's the picture of the country. A lot of positive, but also a lot of challenges. So we move to the next slide on global environment. So that's where we are, and we operate in a global environment that is also full of risk. So it's not us alone. The environment is full of risk, and the top 5 global risks for this year is about climate change. And we see that in flooding. In 2022, flood affected 32 of our 36 states. The second global risk is artificial intelligence and how it can lead to disinformation and misinformation. And for us, a nation of young guys who live on social media, that is something concerning. Global economies are going through tough periods, and Japan and UK are already in recession. And this year, there are quite a number of global countries, but more than half of the world's population will undergo an election this year. An election means more attention to politics and, of course, possibility of changes. We move to the next slide. The World Bank and IMF have been forecasted that the global economy will not grow significantly compared to 2023. In fact, the IMF says global economy will grow 2.9%, which is just a bit less than the 3% that we recorded in 2023. So it's going to be a tough year in terms of the global economy. Inflation still elevated. Price of crude oil unlikely to get to $100, and which is where we get most of our efforts. And geopolitical tensions, whether in Russia, Ukraine, or in the Middle East, are likely to continue this year. Next slide. So the next slide speaks to the its map for the country, and this from 2011 to date. And you see that most of the items there are red. So whether it's fiscal, monetary, or the external trade, it's all red, which means we are not doing well enough. And so the government has they've met a bad situation. The last decade, we didn't take the difficult decisions that we needed to have taken, and part of which this current administration has started to take. And so, we have issues with security, kidnap for ransom, climate change, inflation, etc. But we still have opportunities. Opportunities, which we think should be our priorities, in terms of local refining, and so that we stop importing DMS. The Lekki Free Trade Zone and the Lekki Port presents an opportunity. Transshipment to Mali, to Burkina Faso, to Niger, to Chad, used to be through Nigeria. But now most of that goes through Togo. But there's a big seaport in Togo. And so the Lekki seaport, it's an opportunity for us to take back some of those. But we also must ensure that we decongest our port and sailors don't spend 2 weeks getting to the port. Consumer credit, an area of focus for this administration, is an opportunity if we're able to give money or put money to the hands of the average consumer. Privatization, we must privatize. Let the private sector do what we can do, and let the public sector focus on critical essentials and in terms of policy making. Banking capitalization is likely to come, that's an opportunity, and the rating of the GDP, next slide, also likely to be an opportunity. Growth in the last few years has been in ICT, in agriculture, less in agriculture, more in ICT, and also in the financial services, so fintech, ICT, etc. So we've had growth in those areas, but those are areas that also do not employ a lot of people. And so that's why there is the high sense of joblessness or of unemployment. Because our high growth areas are also the areas that employ not as much people. And so what we need to do is flip it and have growth in the areas that employ as much people. Next slide. So, as we talk of economic reforms and as we look into what will happen this year, there are major headwinds that the country faces and that we need to tackle. The inflation that will come from naira devaluation, it's something that we need to tackle, especially the imported inflation, because we import quite a number of things, and so the price of those things have gone up. Our population growth needs to be managed. We're growing 2.6, 2.8% every year. So that means for any serious improvement, we need to be growing at 5% and above to have good improvement in people's lives. We need to tackle insecurity. We also need to reduce our debt overhang. Debt as a function of government revenue was about 85-90% last year. This year should reduce, given that there's more money coming in from the imports, from the export of crude oil, as we have devalued our currency. We need to tame inflation. Next slide. We need to tame inflation. Inflation at 29.9%, headline, and about 34% for food. Inflation means the poor are getting poorer. But that's what inflation does to you. But for me, I'm an optimist, and I'm incorrigible optimist about the future prospects of Nigeria and of the continent. The median age in Nigeria is 18 years, The median age in Africa is also 18 years. In India, it's 28. In China, it's 34. In the US, it's 38. So the young population, the growth is in Nigeria, is in the continent. Today, our population of the continent is about 1.3, 1.4 billion. Same population as India, same population as China. But in 2050, if we continue to grow this way, our population will be about 2.5 billion. China 1.6, India 1.6. So huge population. But the sad thing though is, forecast says Africa today represents about 3% of world GDP. And in 2050, we're likely to represent less than 12% of world GDP. So still not a lot of growth. And that means there will be a lot of crises if we don't act to ensure that either we retain our population, or these 2.5 billion people have food to eat, they have somewhere to sleep, they have good roads to drive on, or some means of mobility. So that high population presents a future consumer base, but also to lead to crisis, social crisis, if not well managed. And the needs of the population present opportunities for private sectors and those who want to make investment. Food, shelter, transportation, accommodation, communication, and for us in the Southwest, entertainment. We also need to have that to it. So those are the needs of these 2.5 billion people that present opportunities even in a crisis. So in a crisis, we must see opportunity. The hospitality chain, Hilton, was formed just after the World War in 1919. That's the First World War. In 2008, we had the global economic crisis. That's when some young guys formed WhatsApp. That's when Instagram was established. That's when Uber, Airbnb were established in the midst of crisis. And similar in Nigeria, 1990 we had crisis, military government, and that's when a 34-year-old father and Tayo established GTV. In 2002, in this difficult environment, 36-year-old Agodi and Abad established Access Bank. And even in this difficult environment, a 23-year-old Inyabo Ejianko established Andela, now a $2 billion enterprise. And at 25, he established Waterway, a $3 billion enterprise. So every decade, some inspired people turn crisis into opportunity. And I think the challenge for you and I will be, in another decade, in 20 years' time, some companies will have been formed this year. How many of us will be part of those companies? That's a challenge for us. So every crisis presents an opportunity. Next slide. This ambition is working to get to $1 trillion economy, which I believe is possible, as we see that in other plans. But for us to do that, we must first stabilize the economy. FX volatility needs to be tamed, inflation rate needs to reduce, and that's why the central bank has increased the monetary policy rate, so that we can reduce the amount of money in circulation and hopefully use that to take down inflation. Even though inflation is also a bit structural, but at least let's reduce the monetary part of it. Government must block all fiscal leakages at the central bank, at the NPC, at the FIS, and that's part of what the time we say fiscal policy is working on, to ensure that we're able to increase our tax to GDP from 8%, one of the lowest on the continent, to at least 15% to the average on the continent. So we must expand our tax net to allow more of us to pay tax. We must support local businesses. So instead of businesses having to pay 73 tax to move goods from north to the south, we must support that. Next slide. From the energy perspective, we believe there are three pathways to Nigeria reaching a $1 trillion economy. And the three pathways are not mutually exclusive. The first pathway is really about turning us into an export hub, so that we take advantage of Africa, the African free continental trade area, to an export hub to export processed goods, not just food, not cocoa but chocolate, not crude oil but petrol. So a bit of processing and then take that across the continent. Today, trade across West Africa is less than 10%, actually less than 2%, I think. And trade across the continent is less than 12%. Trade across the European Union, the EU cities, the EU countries, is well over 50%. And so Africa needs to trade amongst itself, as opposed to us trading across. And that is an opportunity for Nigeria. But to do that, a number of things we need to do, including security and electricity. The second pathway is around the knowledge economy. Our youth, technology, the creative economy, and how we can then build knowledge up. And the third pathway is about the subnationals. How we can have regional development, and the subnationals in each region can play to their strength. Next slide. And so we believe there are 15 things that government needs to do in terms of policy priorities to be able to explore any of those three pathways. First is about market competitiveness. Reforms of the market and competitiveness, whether it's the labor market, the financial market, needs to be reformed. We must target growth in sectors that foster employment. So you're talking agriculture, you're talking construction, building, real estate. Those are sectors that drive job creation, and these are sectors where we need to focus on driving growth. We must focus on diversifying our economy and also on processing. So we are not just exporting basic primary materials, but we can process and export secondary materials. Today, crude oil and gas account for about 95-96% of our FS earnings. So all of our cocoa, etc., it's less than 5% of FS earnings. So we need to do more and ensure that other items, including Nollywood, music, etc., can be used to drive FX in, can be used to drive exports. We must focus on developing the value chain. Focus on developing the value chain. If you look at the cocoa value chain, for instance, the bulk of the value in the cocoa value chain is made by the chocolate company, not African countries that export raw cocoa. And so we must focus on intermediate processing instead of just exporting the raw materials. We must have infrastructure that will promote industrialization. We can't be competitive, we can't industrialize based on generator. We can only be competitive with public good serves us. And so the AFDB is working with government to establish what we call processing zones, stable for processing zones, that will have those infrastructure and that will then hopefully improve the competitiveness of our companies. We must invest in digital infrastructure. Today we have huge submarine cables that are running in the south. We need to get the capacity into the north so that you can have the same level of internet capacity that you have in the south, also in the middle and the north of the nation, so that our youth can work remotely anywhere they are and be able to create value. Skills and education must be relevant to the needs of today. Skills and education must be relevant to the needs of today, and we must also invest in healthcare and in our tech ecosystem. In terms of the subnational, we need more regional collaboration and more regional integration and more regional value chain. The Southwest has been talking about the rail across the Southwest. We need that. And each region needs to think of where it has comparative advantage and see how that can be brought to the fore. Next slide. And so, if we focus on a number of these 15, we are likely to move the needle. And for us as individuals, how do we track progress? We can track progress by looking at 5 key areas. First, will be in terms of our economic indicators. Our budget is to be more on capital than recurrent. Our GDP must be growing above 6%. If we become a $1 trillion economy, GDP is still growing at 3%. We're barely growing to serve our population growth. And so GDP above 6% is the ideal. If you look at the sectoral performance, we also must look at how critical sectors are growing. Agriculture, ICT, trade, construction, sectors that can drive employment. We must track how they are growing, and we must track budget allocation. Allocation of budget to those growth areas. For me, when I look at an individual or even a government, I ask where you spend your time, where you spend your money. These are the two things that tells me your priority. And so even as leaders and government, we must track where we spend our money. We must track capital formation. How much investment is coming into this market, and what's our annual capital budget? Our capital budget must be more than our recurrent and our debt services. Otherwise, we are not investing in the future. We must look at infrastructure for digital services, but more importantly, growth will not come until we solve the electricity supply issue. There are countries, albeit small countries, where everyone has access to power. For us, it's about 45% of all has access to power. That must change. And we can't run on the director economy. We must focus on innovation. We also must focus on social development. So investment in health, in education, reduction of poverty, and access to quality healthcare. Next slide. So we've seen in other clients that this is possible. For us to become a $1 trillion economy, for us to really take people out of poverty, we need to grow consistently. And between 2000 and 2010, this economy grew by about 6.5% on the average. Same with Ethiopia, same with Vietnam. So there are countries that have grown consistently at double digits. There are countries that have grown consistently at above 6%. And Nigeria also grew consistently above 6% for a decade. But that was a decade that we didn't have crude oil leakages and vandalism. So we were producing well above our OPEC quota. Today we struggle to produce 1.5 million barrels. That was the age when banks were capitalized. That was the age when telecoms was licensed, and so there was FDI in the telecom sector, and so we grew a new sector, telecoms and ICT. That was the age when pensions, defined contribution pensions started. So it tells us that with reforms, with security, and with productivity, the country can grow. And I'll say that those are the things we really need to focus on. How do we improve security? How do we improve power supply? How do we ensure crude oil supply and its proceeds come to the government covers? And then if we do those three, the private sector will do the rest. And then we will be on track to becoming a $1 trillion economy. Next slide, I think that's right. Yeah, so we should not despair of the mercy of Allah. Things are tough, but after hardship, there is relief. But that's only if we do what is right. That's only if we change our own condition and allow will not change the condition of the nation. And let them take what's in their own mind. So it's easy for us to point at the government, but we also must point at ourselves. Rule of law is important. Obeying traffic law or the traffic signs, not driving against one way, simple things that you and I need to do that can foster a safe environment. So the law is in our hands. We must believe in the country, we must be less selfish, and solving for I, me, and myself. Let us solve for the nation, let us believe in the country, let us obey laws, and overall, let us do those simple things, and let's do them right. And if each of us do the simple things right, then on the aggregate, we stand a chance to have the kind of country that we want. And allow me to do this easy for us. So thank you for your audience, and I wish you a successful.
Thank you, Allah. To deserve Allah to our keynote speaker, Mr. Ali Yusuf. Indeed, I was very shocked when he said he was going to leave here early because of the speed. Why? I was wondering how we could pack this conversation in that short time. But indeed, you cannot attest to the fact that it is justice to it. And I'm sure our other discussants will also elaborate more and give us some perspective on the example of prayer. Thank you for honoring us with your time.
You're very much welcome, sir. Thank you very much, David. Then we also have the former president of PUMA, Haji Miri Alimi. You're very much welcome, sir. We also have Professor Fatai Badru from our own University of Lagos. You're very much welcome, sir. Again, I also have here the Provost of Federal College of Education Technical Dr. Louis Aziz. You're very much welcome, sir. Dr. Aziz, you're welcome. That's the Provost of FCT next door neighbor here. Alright, we also have the Permanent Secretary of Lagos State Ministry of Housing, Mr. Abdulmatis Turiola. You're very much welcome, sir. Take it. Then we also have the Director, University of Lagos Council, Professor Awal Usman. He is very much here with us. You're very much welcome. Alright, I think that does it for some of the speakers. If you have other names, we will introduce them.
Right, thanks so much, right about now, we'll go straight to the next item, which is to listen to our second speaker for today, our father, who joined us earlier, Sheikh Dawood, our father, the Muslim of Dar es Salaam, that Markaz Nurul Islam. Okay, I think that is correction. Thank you so much, sir. I'll take a brief citation of our father because of the paucity of time. So, Sheikh Dawood Afala was born in 1953 at Igbede Town, Oyo State. He's popularly recognized as Al-Bedewi in reference to his town of birth, Igbede Town in Oyo State. He is a native of Ilorin, Kwara State. He began his academic journey under the tutelage of his father, Sheikh Abdul Majid Eleha, where he acquired the basic principles of Islamic studies, such as the alphabetical reading, hadith, tawheed, tajweed, and jurisprudence between the year 1960 and 1966. He proceeded President America's Ta'alim Arabi and Islami under the auspices of the great Arabic historian and Islamic scholar of Reverend Sheikh Adam Abdullah Al-Ilori after his graduation from Samson College in 1971. He is the founder of multi-Islamic institutions, Nur Islam in Agege, which he founded in 1975, MashaAllah in Ilorin and Darussalam at Gede. He is also the chief missioner of Surulere, the Shad Muslim community, or your state, as is the mission for many Islamic organizations. Sheikh Dawood has attended and participated in a series of Islamic conferences within Nigeria and abroad, like Benin Republic, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Morocco.
It's like adjustment to our program. Apologies to our Sheikh. The royal father of today, the Olota of Ota, Oba Professor at the Oba Lege, would be taking his leave. But before he does that, he has an address to this garden. So what we can accommodate that so that we can enjoy our Sheikh very well. So like His Royal Majesty will please come and give a short address to this gathering. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Waalaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm happy to be here today to listen to this pre-Ramadan lecture. And of course, the topic is timely in the sense that we know we are going through a difficult period. But the most important thing is that we believe that at the end of this reform, we can all live a good life. And I want to thank the organizers of this event. And I believe, as Muslim people, we should have hope in the sense that this economic reform, at the end of the day, will be to our advantage. And I want to advise you that please listen to the speakers so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to go home with some useful things. For me, I'm sorry I won't be able to stay to the end of this lecture because I have some other engagements. But I wish you all the best. Thank you. Who am I to say no to the distinguished Senator of the Federal Republic? Also, my past chief of staff to the executive governor of Ogun State. I'm going to sponsor 5 scholars. I will discuss that with the students. Thank you, and God bless.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Good afternoon. First, thank you to our fathers, His Royal Majesty. All right, so very quick presentation to His Royal Majesty is former president of UMA, Alhaji Shuaib Salis, and Alhaji Rasat, Alhaji Muslim president, to do this presentation to His Royal Majesty, the Olota of Ota.
Allahu Akbar.
Kabirullah. Like our father said, we all understand the busy schedule for all our dignitaries here, given everyone sees said. We just have to make do with what we have. It is that of prayer for giving our time to our Father, the Royal Majesty of our Professor Adeyemi Obalanilege, your daughter of water. We pray to Allah to guide you safely back to your destination and bless your other endeavors. Amen. Right about now, we'll go straight to our second speaker for today, our father, who we had earlier introduced, Sheikh Dawood Afala Abdulmajid Eleha, who will be delivering his lecture in Yoruba language.
Nígbà tí ó lè wọ́pọ̀ nípa ìjọ náà pé ẹgbà owó ìtọ́jú yìí. Ọ̀nà àwọn àlá àwòrán nàìjíríà ọ̀pọ̀ ìyára àlá àwòrán nàìjíríà àti ìpàdé ìlànà.
Kí ló dé tí Nàìjíríà òkúkú mú photocopy lára nípa Muhammad sallallahu
الله عليه وسلم في الاقتصادية، في السياسة، في التعليم، في كل شيء، حتى تكون سنة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وهداة لنا في نيجيريا هذه وفي العالم كله. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الأمة
The Prophet ﷺ was the head of the Ummah during his time.
وساد الأمة
And also encouraged us to do good when he was alive.
بهداية الله وعناية الله.
All this under the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
كانت الاقتصادية في الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم مثالا حيا.
The way the economy was during the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is what we should try to copy and
قال الله القرآن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سورة الإسراء. قال لا تجعل يدك مغلولة إلى عنقك ولا تبسطها كل البسط فتقعد ملوما محظورا. lórí àwọn ẹ̀kọ́ tí àwọn òṣèlú wa ti sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan ní nàìjíríà bá bọ̀ lọ́wọ́ adé nàìjíríà ní stéètì kọ̀ọ̀kan ní àti dáwọ́lá kọ̀ọ̀kan tí àwọn ìjọba kọ̀ọ̀kan ti ṣe kọjá à ń ga sí ní àbáńlọ́lẹ̀ ní ṣókí olúwa wípé لا تجعل يدك مغلولة إلى عنقك فقع وطن بارك wọ́n gbé orí pé ó bá ń bọ̀ ọmọ rẹ̀ ń bọ̀ ìyàwó rẹ̀ ń bọ̀ ẹbí rẹ̀ ń bọ̀ ọgbọ́n bá náwó ọ̀wá káwọ́ sọ owó lọ́wọ́ fi pa máṣá àwọn oúnjẹ bẹ́ẹ̀.
wọ́n kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ sọ́tà tó ń lọ bá sí ti.
wọ́n wá bu owó yàrá ọmọ náà bá ti náwó káàkiri sí gbogbo àwọn pàpàláàtì gbogbo wá sí ìyàwó àpòmọ̀ bá bá wọ Facebook èyí náà tó tàyà ló sì dàní. Kíni fa òsì Nàìjíríà bá ti náwó ọ̀dà? À ń fi ọlọ́run nínú. À ń bàtà ìkànnú jẹ́. À ń kó bà ní jẹ́lẹ́ tí ọ̀rọ̀ náà. Bí ọ̀rọ̀ kan kan mo gbé àwọn tí ò kọ́ yé dáadáa. Ọ̀dà tó tó ti ha kó lọ bọ́ọ̀sì.
Do not spend extravagantly.
Nàìjíríà lónìí wọ́n wá fẹ́ ìyàwó lọ́wọ́ àwọn Facebook. Ọ̀yẹ́ kí ìjọba wà fẹ́sẹ̀ sí. Ìnákúnà ìtìpọ̀. Èrò ló ń gbà lóṣù òfin iye tó ń náà ná. Ọmọ lórí ẹnìkan tábà bá ìjọba wí lórí ìjọba àwa náà fara wí láàrin ìlú. Torí gbogbo wa lọ́run bá ìwà náà láti fa wàhálà lórí ìnákúnà. Ọba náà tó ní ètò ìṣúná àkáàtì rẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ yáwó náà. Òfìsè pátì. Profesor Mugabe yang di sini yang di Batu nanti yang di Bukit Patah Kuda Madu Mamahura. Oh apa dari itu mati pusabam. Oh dari itu kawas itu ni yang ukulu dia tu itu pemandu dia. Salah satu presiden kita sama kau nak sama minister awak orang pun ini orang pun dia.
Pada musuh itu kali menyesal.
Ẹlòmí ọ̀lẹ ni àsìmọ́ owó ẹlòmí alágbára ni kò sì ní owó pápẹ́ mo ṣiṣẹ́ mo ṣe wàhálà mo kí ó mọ kàwé mo sọ owó ní ìsọ̀lẹ̀ ẹlòmí rẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ayọ́fẹ́ tó lè sẹ́lẹ̀ mọ̀ ẹ̀sà tó bá ti rọ̀ ní sọ̀lẹ̀ ìyẹn lọ́wọ́ fà á táàbò pé kí ló ti Nàìjíríà tá a tòṣì tá ìjìyà tí kọ́ńtì ni yóò sì ní dúkìá tó wà al-ma'adun al-ardiyya àwọn ìsọ́sísì ilẹ̀ ọlọ́pàá Nàìjíríà àní petrol àní gas àní oil àní rọ́bà àní nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ díẹ̀ tọ́pọ̀lọ ilẹ̀ wa gbẹgbẹ náà ń gbùgbùn fún ẹ̀ láì ní kí náà wàá sọ àdúró lòsì ìwọ̀ngbà tá a máa lò tá a máa ná èyí ní wàá jẹ́ àrò pé ṣé pẹ́sidẹ́ǹtì ni ló fa ni àbáwá aráàlú gbogbo wa lọ́dọ̀ kan. àsìkò díẹ̀ ni wọ́n fún wa kọ́dà 20 minutes ní òkè ṣùgbọ́n abẹ́ ẹ̀jẹ̀ àlọ́gbà lọ́sọ̀lá kàtà mọ́ àtúrà yìí lọ́sọ̀lá ó ṣe tí a ó sì wí nínú àwọn olórin táàkà pé olórin Yorùbá tó lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tó gbogbo àwọn ẹlẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ayé tó gbọ́dọ̀ máa fún ní àwọn òbílẹ́yìn tó kí èsì láyé wá ó ní fi tálágbára gbé ṣiṣẹ́ tí ò lówó lọ́wọ́ àwọn tí ò lè kádàrá ògbóògùn àkúnlẹ̀yìn ẹ̀dá o àbùtúmọ̀ pé iná ńlá ẹgbẹ́ tó rí sáré náà ìyẹ̀ṣá owó yẹ pẹ̀lú ṣé ìgbà tó lọ wáyé òun lòun láti fi fẹ́ẹ́ tó ń bá fẹ́ òun lè fi kọ́kọ́ ọmọ ọkùn tó gbé alágbára tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ tí ò lówó lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ pé wáyà pẹ̀lú òun yọ̀sùn tó rí sáré náà ìyẹ̀ṣá ọkọ̀ rẹ̀ tí ó kàwé débi kan ìkọ́lé ìfẹ̀rọ̀ yìí pé yọ̀sùn tó lò àmọ́ tòun ti fẹ́ sàwárí ṣiṣẹ́ lọ sáà ní ṣètò صلى الله عليه وسلم ثبت به ومدينة أول شيء فعله الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم nígbà níbi kọ́kọ́ bí ṣe ní pé ó fi àwọn àǹsáà ẹ̀yà àǹsáà Nàìjíríà lóyìn ẹ̀yìn tẹ̀mọ̀ nípa ilẹ̀ ẹ̀fún alẹ́lẹ̀ ká máa dáko mọ̀ pé pòfẹ́sọ̀ akọ́sọ̀ fẹ́ǹsì náà sọ̀rọ̀ nípa oko dídá ẹ̀yìn tẹ̀mọ̀ owó ṣe ní Mádínà àwọn àhájì tó wà yìí wọ́n mọ owó ṣe ẹ̀yìn ojúṣe wa kẹ́ ẹ̀fọ̀nà mọ́ àwọn tó tẹ̀lé ní wá láti Mákà kí wọ́n máa ṣòwò. Ànábì ò fa ìgbà bára, Ànábì fa ìgbà iṣẹ́ ṣíṣe. Ìsìlámù ò fa ìgbà bára, Ìsìlámù fara mọ́ iṣẹ́ ṣíṣe ìmọ̀lù ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ láti pàṣẹ àwọn ọmọ ọmọ ọmọlẹ́kùn wọn tó lù wọn mọ̀. Náà, àwọn èèyàn wá kàwé wọn kí wọ́n sì fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ wọn lágbára kí ló fà á ní ọ̀pọ̀ lórí ìjọba pípọ̀. Fún ìsọ̀díyà wa ìṣúná wa Nàìjíríà yìí ẹ̀rọ amójútó ilẹ̀ ẹgbẹ́ láti dáko. À ń bọ̀ láti lọ ní wọn igbó ìrìnlẹ̀ pẹ̀tẹ́ lọ́dún lóṣù kí ló ṣe táwọn tó wọ owó bẹ̀ nígbà tí owó bẹ̀ tẹ̀ lè ṣe àwọn tó ti kàwé jáde bẹ̀ tí wọ́n mọ̀ nípa nǹkan ọ̀gbìn gbogbo ẹ̀kọ́ tí èèyàn kọ́ láyé lọ́rọ̀ wa Nàìjíríà á ní al-ma'adin al-insaniya èèyàn tó kájú ẹ̀ tó tábà fẹ́ dájọ́ bálẹ̀ básìkò ti máa ní á níbi àwọn tó mọ̀ nípa àwọn pòfẹ́sọ̀ dókítà tí wọ́n kọ́ lẹ́gbẹ́jẹ́ Nàìjíríà ni á níbi àwọn tó mọ̀ nípa àlàáfíà á níbi owó á wà níbi nǹkan ẹlẹ̀ yóò máa bí owó fún wa kò sí ìta nílẹ̀ kí ló wá fò sí kí ló fà yìí Ọlọ́run tó gbé fún wa àmàlà Egypt ní sẹ́lá tó yúwe ilẹ̀ wọn ní ọ̀rá tó ilẹ̀ tiwa wọ́n fún ilẹ̀ lómìnira kí wọ́n tó lè orúkún ilẹ̀ àwọn alúmínà wà bẹ́ẹ̀ tàbí wọ́n tọ́jú ilẹ̀ wọn ni èyí tàà sọ yìí ọkàn tálíkà ó sì gba olórí wọ́n lè sọ́lọ́lọ́ sọ́lọ́m sọ pé kí fàmátàkùnú ìwádà àlẹ́kùn kí fàmátàkùnú ìwádà àlẹ́kùn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti rí láàfin olórí fún yín báwọn ọmọ fún Tinubu táàbù àkọ́kọ́ játálà àti ìlú wọn náà làwọn èyí ló jẹ́ àmọ́ yìí àwa náà ìtọ́kù sí wa là nǹkan pàdé mọ́ wa là ànábi ní kí fàmátàkùnú bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ṣe rí ìwádà àlẹ́kùn láàfin ọ̀gá fún ajẹ́gbẹ́gbà tí a ti wà tí ó dáná lé ọkọ òṣìyàwó ìyàwó òṣọ́kọ bàbá òṣọ́mọ ẹ̀gbọ́n òṣàbúrò àbúrò òṣèkọ̀ọ́ lọ́wọ́ ní ọkọ̀ burú àwọn tí ó nà ní lẹ́gba ààyàn ọkùnrin èyí ni ọjà àkọ́kọ́ wọlé wa wò ní sókí gẹ́gẹ́ àtúntò fún wa á wọ ọ̀rẹ́ wa wò táàbà fún bàbá Tinubu kọ́lọ̀ fún bàbá Tinubu ni wa àwa náà kọ́kọ́ jẹ́ bàbá Tinubu nínú ilé wa lọ́dọ̀ ìyàwó wa lọ́dọ̀ ọmọ wa lọ́dọ̀ ọ̀rẹ́ wa láwùjọ wa ní sóònù wa ní local government wa ní state wa ó tó wá kan tó Nàìjíríà.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam arọ́mìnà sàádẹ́tì.
nǹkan mẹ́rin ní mú lùtò ní mú èèyàn sórí láyé ó dá lórí ẹnìkan pẹ̀lú ìyàwó rẹ̀ ó dá lórí àdúgbò ó dá lórí state ó dá lórí gbogbo kọ́ńtì.
àwọn àlùhá àlùbárà tó sọ ọ́ ha.
fúyà fẹ́yàwó dáadáa ó sì dáadáa fúyàwó fúyàwó ti fọ́pọ̀.
wàtàníyà alìmọ̀sánú wá sí àwọn.
fúyàwó á ní ilẹ̀ ó nílé ó sì kọ́ nípa tí ó dojú gbá èmi náà bẹ láyé ìgbìmọ̀ kọ́ọ̀nì tẹ́wọ́ Nàìjíríà wà ní sọ̀rọ̀ alhamdulillah láti ìbá ti dé àdáni ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan ẹ lọ wọn ní gbogbo mẹ̀fún ìdílé Nàìjíríà kò sí déédéé àwọn òkèlè ìgbàdá ní gbogbo rẹ̀. nígbà ọlọ́tọ́ ni ó tó mọ iye olóyún wo ló dé tà olóyún wo ló lọ tá pẹ̀lẹ́ nígbà ọlọ́wọ́ bá gbé mi wá ní wàá tó gbogbo sí kí ló fà.
wàtàní sọ ha.
ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀dá tí mo yẹ sórí láyé.
àjẹrù sọ níṣu.
ká ní aládùúgbò rẹ tó fọ amọ̀nà bí báyìí ló ti wọ́n ṣe báyìí.
wọ́rọ́ bí wọ́n ha ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀gbẹ̀rún ha ní.
ẹ̀ka wa ní nǹkan jẹ́ títí wa dáa àwọn ọmọ wa sọláàtì wa ìjọ dáa ẹwọ èmi tí ń ṣòfò kò sí amúnù kò sí fọkànbalẹ̀ kò sí security látara báyìí a fẹ́ pe àkíyèsí wa lẹ́nu ti àdìsá náà Muhammad sallallahu àtàkùránì nítorí kágbákun kásẹ̀dédé lórí bí àti Islam bí lọ wọ́sàt ẹ̀sìn ìmọ̀nù ìwà níwọ̀n fún wọ́n sí àti lọ kíkí ọlọ́run ní àti ìdúrà wa lọ tá a bá dé kí wọn tó bá tilẹ̀ wá fún ní àdìkù tá a bá rẹ̀ wá dé sí káfíà lẹ́yìn ká máa fi á dìde lọ bí wọn ní sàtá ilé ìlú kẹsí ìlà zaka yìí ọtọ́ bá ti ní yọ kò sí ìnira náà sí ẹ̀sìn Islam má dá Allahu fi dini min haraj ọlọ́run òfin ìnira kan sínú ẹ̀sìn fún wa á jẹ́ pé àwọn tó ń wá ọwọ́ wa lọ́wọ́ lẹ́nu àsìkò tó kù yìí Al-Qur'an tó sọ bò mí àwọn kan wá bí àlẹ́bìlẹ̀ rẹ̀ tó máa ń dárí ìsàlùmẹ́ta mẹ́ta ìfòkù wọ́n bọ̀ wá bí wà àlẹ́bìlẹ̀ rẹ̀ kí ni ká máa ná níbo ni ká ná sí ká ní ká ná fún ìlú ni ká ná tẹ́wá tí wọ́n máa ń dárí òfìkù masáyì àdìdà látàrí kẹ́lìmọ̀ máa ń dárí òfìkù kí náà máa ná ó tó bí àyà mẹ́tàlá fún aláàtọ̀ àdìkọ́sá tó tó lọ àyà kọ̀ọ̀kan láwà béèrè pé àwọn tálíkà bí ànábì pé mọ́tà yóò fi fún ẹ̀ sí làwọn ọ̀nà gbàgbà lówó àwọn olówó bí ànábì pé mọ́tà yóò fi fún ẹ̀ kí ni káwọn ọmọ nínú owó wa ànábì sì dáhùn ìlú ẹ̀kọ́ wa ní sọ́ọ̀sì bàkàrà ọwọ́ káàkiri nítorí àsìkò tí jẹ́ pé ìsìláàmù yìí kọ́ dínú lẹ́kítìsọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ dínú lẹ́kítìsọ̀ríyà rẹ̀ dínú dáwùlà dínú rahma dínú lẹ́ẹ̀lì dínú nóòrò dínú mọ́tàmà ẹ̀sìn àánú ẹ̀sìn ìkẹ́ ẹ̀sìn ìdáwálà ló bàbá tẹ̀ tó lè wo constitution Islam tá a kó fi sínú constitution wa tá a lò torí pé àpótí ìmọ̀gògí àmì ìjọba alágbára àwọn lọ́balọ́ba jọ̀hún àní ọ̀dà nígbà tá a ní ọ̀dà àwọn lọ àsìkò míì tó dé dàgbà torí àtúndé àwọn sọ́jà àtúndé ọ̀dà omi ìtúndé wa di àdúgbòkọ̀rọ̀tì ẹ̀jẹ̀ àdóyìn fún àwọn àbí àtúnyẹ̀ dání níta àtúnyẹ̀ léèrè o tá a wá wò kọ̀sítà kẹta àti ká parí pẹ̀lú ìdórí àsìkò ní nǹkan bíi ọdún mélòó sẹ́yìn ní Àbújá wọ́n béèrè báyìí rẹ̀ ní 1997 òun láti kó lẹ̀ ọkọ̀ sídà rẹ̀ tó mẹ́ta á gbé fún àwọn elétò wọ̀ àwọn ọkọ̀ bá ti máa kọ ẹ̀yìn aláwọ̀ ìjà ẹ̀mọ́ tó yẹ kó fi à ń dáhùn pẹ̀lú kí ló dé sí Nàìjíríà ọ̀dà làáfíà gbogbo ọlọ́run ṣe fún wa àti ìsọ̀bíyà ètò náà wa àlàáfíà àti gbogbo ẹ̀kọ́ àlàáfíà àti àwọn tó wá kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ jáde wọn ò gbádùn ìgbésí ayé wọn. Nàìjíríà yìí mo lọ ń lọ. Àyàtọ̀ àsáàtì náà ẹ̀ wà mẹ́sàlẹ̀. Ẹ̀yọ̀ ọ̀gá wa látòrí bàbá wa tí ó kú tèmi níbo la ń lọ mo lẹ̀ ń wà wá lọ mo la fẹ́ gúnlẹ̀ sí. Káàkiri tó Nàìjíríà ni jẹ́ẹ̀tì Áfíríkà níbi owó níná níbi ẹ̀kọ́ níbi ilẹ̀ níbi dúkìá kí ló dé. Nàìjíríà sọ̀rọ̀ ń ga sí ní àbọ̀ ń lọlẹ̀. Láti Nàìjíríà lọ òkè níbi owó níná àti níbi dúkìá àbí ń lọlẹ̀. Ìjọba òmìnira làkọ́ 1997 ẹ wá wò láti jọ́nà sí yí padà rẹ̀ àbí lọ rẹ̀ sí ẹ̀sùn. Gbogbo nǹkan tí ń jẹ́ tàjáàbù rẹ̀ níyà káàkiri ìdáwó mímọ̀ lọ́lọ́mọ Nàìjíríà jáde àtàwà yóò lọ́wọ́ yọ ọmọ títí sáyé ó tún wá pa ìrẹsì ní ìfẹ́sì ní ìwà violence àpẹẹrẹ ẹ̀rí ó pè òun lọ́wọ́ ká Nàìjíríà ní pọ̀ sí àwọn tó tún kàwé láti mú léwu àwọn náà tó ti kọ́ọ̀tù wọn tó ta láàbò tí ó wá jáde fẹ́ kí wọ́n ṣe. Ẹ̀dá kò tó láǹfààní mímọ̀ tó láǹfààní ẹ̀kọ́ àtọwọ́ táwọn òbí ná.
Ayé àtòlè jẹ́ èlé bílíbílì láàrin ọ̀sẹ̀
Òkè dáadáa.
Ayé àtòlè jẹ́ èlé bílíbílì láàrin ọ̀sẹ̀
Láì fa àwọn ọ̀dọ́ ọ̀wá ní ìnira sí. Ọmọ tí ọ̀fẹ́ mú ọmọ tí ọ̀fẹ́ jáde àwa ní àwọn ti kápá ń pọ̀ àní àwọn ti ní kúrò sí ní pọ̀ nígbà tó kàwé kí ìṣe nígbà tó tẹ náwó lílẹ̀ tí ọ̀rọ̀ náà gbé gbà àyíkẹ́ wà wájú tẹ wà lókè bẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run ẹ̀ka wa mójútó kálábò dé Nàìjíríà kí ọ̀la àwọn tí ń bọ̀ lọ́lọ́ dá ju tòmí lọ torí lọ́dà ń bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́mọ kíkẹ́ ẹ̀yìn àti ẹ̀ bá débẹ̀ tẹ̀sí dáadáa ẹ̀ gbìyànjú àmọ́ àwọn tí ó gbìyànjú pọ̀ ju àwọn tí ń gbìyànjú lọ ní ẹ̀ bá ti gbìyànjú bẹ́ẹ̀ ní ìṣèlú. Àlùkò wa di tálíkà ẹni olówó lọ ọ̀nà tó fẹ́ fi ṣe mọ́. Àwọn dókítọ̀, àwọn pòfẹ́sọ̀ àdéka àwọn tẹ́ ń gbogbo láì lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ni wọ́n wà. Àwọn pòfẹ́sọ̀ di ẹ̀ ní bàbá akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ àwọn méjì sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́yìn tiwa. Bẹ́ẹ̀ kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ yọ sọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ yọ sọ̀rọ̀ oyè pọ̀ wọn àríṣẹ́ ti ṣe wọ́n ríṣẹ́ wọn lówó àlàáfíà òsì. Ǹjẹ́ gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà káwá dá lágbè bí àwọn àdúgbò ní ìsàgbé tí wọn ọ̀dà tí wọ́n sáwá Nàìjíríà níjọ́ dá tí Ghana túká tí wọ́n sáwá Nàìjíríà sẹ́ẹ̀kì wọ́n ti ní ṣe padà àlàáfíà ti dé àwa náà ká mọ́ ata tó ń ṣe. Máa sọ̀rọ̀. Ojoojúmọ́ lọ́mọ Nàìjíríà wọn sàgbé ẹwà wọn tí ń lọ sí àpọ̀jù káàkiri ẹ̀ ti mú wọn ẹwà gbáko tí wọ́n kà ẹwà wàhálà tí wọ́n ní òbí ẹ̀ ti ń dá wọn padà káàkiri ní táàbù ìsáyé nílùú wa. Àwọn dókítà tí wọ́n jẹ́ akẹ́dẹ́mì bẹ́ẹ̀ ti tòkó yìí agbárí ìwé tó tòkó yìí kò sókò nígbà ní àyè kálukú lọ́ọ́ máa ti ṣe é sì máa fi ti ṣe é. Sàlámàtàlá àti ìdúpọ̀ ń sàlàfíà àdúgbò ẹ̀tọ́ ká wá kọ́tà àdìmí ní lẹ́tà àdìmí káàbì sí kí ló fà á. Tàbá ní ìdèmọ́gógì ọ̀dà ṣèkíá. Ìjẹ́jẹ́ tàtòrí àná tó wá dá títí sọ́jà náà tẹ́wà lọ́rùn àní ọ̀dà. Àwọn akéwìgbé dẹ́mọ́kírésì lábẹ́ ṣe kálukú ọmọ lọ àfẹ́bàjọ́ wọn àfẹ́sọ́jà mọ́ àwọn adẹ́mọ́kírésì gbọ́ wá kérésì lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí. Pàtàkì náà ti tún ní. Àti àwọn akéwìsì yáta rẹ̀ kọ́ òjò oòrùn ni. Gbogbo kí ni ẹni lágbàáyé kí ẹni fi ṣèjọba Nàìjíríà ní tí ìlú mi ò lè tó wa kọ́dà àwọn ìlú mi wọ́n ń yá ti wà lò tí wọ́n fi sáyé ni. Ìlú mi ìran Nàìjíríà nínú àgbẹ̀ nínú Nàìjíríà lórí. Epo Nàìjíríà èyí náà máa ń fi mi fún un yìí lọ. Kí ló dé tẹ́ rí bẹ́ẹ̀? Kí ló sọ wọ àwọn tó ń bẹ lókè tó tojú kòkòrò? Ìjọ àwọn ajẹ́ solúsàn gbogbo ẹ̀ta fẹ́ parí ẹ̀sìn ní kíni. Ọba àdéhùn láti sọ fún wa nínú Al-Qur'ani. Ọlámílẹ̀ kan láti tọ́jú ìtàbíra mọ́nà fún ọmọ. Inna al-mubadhirina kanu ikhwana ash-shayatin. Gbogbo àwọn ìlànà àwọn Yéṣù ni wọ́n wa kana ash-shaytanu li rabbihi kafura. Ẹ̀rí kan sísàn tọ́lọ́ Ọlọ́run ní lánàá òun ló ní ayé òun ní lọ́ọ̀dù tó ní láàyè òfin tó wá ṣe sẹ́kún ní ẹ̀rọ abẹ́rẹ́ ti ní lọ́dọ̀ lágbára constitution tí ó sáyẹ̀nsì wípé agreement pé àgùntàn ọmọ sáyẹ̀nsì àgùntàn ọmọ wọlé àgùntàn ọmọ dálẹ̀ ẹ̀ máa fọ tẹ́lẹ̀ ẹ̀ máa tó báyìí ọ̀ sáyẹ̀nsì ọlọ́run sí òfin fún wa ọ̀rọ̀ náà inú bí a máa dà nígbà yìí.
wà á bá nìkan nínú náà tó
Wakata wada di asili ayé nìka ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ká ọlọ́gbọ́n ní.
àṣírí ayé nìka ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ká ọlọ́gbọ́n.
Bàtún wí.
àṣírí ayé nìka ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ká ọlọ́gbọ́n.
Ká sì iṣẹ́ owó ká fowó lọ́wọ́ ká má sì sáwọn.
ká sì iṣẹ́ owó ká fowó lọ́wọ́ má ṣe
Ká sì iṣẹ́ owó ká fowó lọ́wọ́ ká má sì sáwọn.
ká sì iṣẹ́ owó ká fowó lọ́wọ́ ká má ṣe ṣàwọn.
Àti ayé ni kí a ká ṣèṣì káwa polongo níyàn bá lówó tó ní mílíọ̀nù tó ní bílíọ̀nù tó láì mọ̀ tí ọ̀gá tilẹ̀ sí yọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ sí i torí bọ́n bá rí tilẹ̀ sí ó ka ọmọ rẹ̀ lẹ́yìn káwa ṣe tó owó ká mọ̀ sọ̀lẹ̀ káwa mọ̀ sàmù káàsì mọ́ nana kùnà ká fowó lọ́wọ́ iye kí ètò ọba ní ọba tí nana kùnà tó ti dá gbèsè fáwọn rẹ̀ tó ti dá fáwọn ẹbí rẹ̀ gbèsè tí ìnákùnà tá a ní Nàìjíríà ní gbèsè tí wọn lọ́wọ́ gbèsè tí ilé àrísàn àtúntò gbèsè síta.
àrùn wọ̀nyí ẹni balẹ̀ ṣe ìjàmá wa ayé adára fún ọ̀run adára yóò ṣoríire ayé adára fún ọ̀run adára yóò ṣoríire.
Ẹ̀kọ́ tá a ní ẹ̀kọ́ tá a kọ́ kò díẹ̀ sí lọ́wọ́ nínú ṣàbá ìlọ́wọ́ yìí èyí tá a fi fún lẹ́nu ìmáàmù wa Sheikh Ibrahim bọ́n adha wọ́n fi léèrè pé yá Ibrahim bọ́lá rọ́pọ̀lá ara ní olùkúrú asítẹ̀lì ìyàwó ọlọ́run ní ẹ̀pẹ̀ ní ìdá inú ìmáàdà ẹ̀dí wọ̀nà mísítẹ̀ kí ló dé tàbí fẹ́ lọ́run tí ó dáhùn mọ́ nǹkan líle sí ni wọ́n fi Ibrahim fún àdìyàmà bẹ́ẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí wọ́n ti rí pé kí ni solúsàn ní ìsìn Ibrahim fún àdìyàmà wọn.
فقال إبراهيم بن أديان رضي الله عنه ما تقلوبكم عن عشرة خصال
ọkàn yín fọ́ọ̀nù ọkàn yín gbàgbéra fún nǹkan mẹ́wàá ní Nàìjíríà lájú nǹkan mẹ́wàá làwọn ẹlẹ́sìn dùnú nǹkan mẹ́wàá làwọn olóṣèlú dùnú nǹkan mẹ́wàá ní gbogbo aráàlú dùnú tí ò jọ rọrùn.
ادعيتم حب الله ولم تؤمنوا به.
gbogbo aláàfin Ọlọ́run àwọn àbílí fọlọ́ àrùbá fọpọlọ wá sí gbogbo tọ́lọ̀ lóun fẹ́ kájọsí pẹ̀lú ìyàwó pẹ̀lú ọkọ pẹ̀lú ọmọ àlò ọkọ ń lo agbárí fún ìyàwó ń lo agbárí fọkọ ọ̀gá ń lo agbárí fún ọmọdé àwọn olórí ń lo agbárí fún àwọn aráàlú abáti dìbò tán wọn ti gbàgbé wa nù àfàwọn díẹ̀ nù wọn àwọn tí ń ṣe kọ́ ló bá tí wọ́n lẹ́sẹ̀.
ودعيتم حب محمد ولم تقتلوه به.
Nígbà tí ó pẹ̀lú àwọn ẹ̀ka ṣe lé àfikà lọ kọ́ sí àná kí lé ó lè tò mílíọ̀nù bá tó ìta òní tó.
ودعيتم حب القرآن ولم تعملوا به.
Àwọn dáadáa nínú ọ̀rẹ́ ìṣà àwọn ọ̀pọ̀tọ̀ sí àwọn tó wà sí ìjà nínú owó onímẹ́ta.
ودعيتم أوفى النار ولم تجتنبوها.
Àfẹ́ wọn ní tọ́ba lọ́wọ́ àjẹ́ náà ọ̀rẹ́ àwọn àjẹ́ náà dàbí náà náwó. Àwọn mọ̀lẹ́kọ̀ ìyàwó tó tọ́ bá náwó. Àwọn ìyàwó tó lọ ọmọ àjẹ́ náà lè ní. Kábà lọ́mọ ní nàbáyọ̀ náwó kò tẹ́ ní wọn náwó. Ìwà mẹ́sìn bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ gbogbo wa. À ń ṣe inú ilé, à ń ṣe ń ta olórí sí fọ́mọ ẹ̀yìn sí olórí. Àwa ló sì ta wa, àníyàn jẹ wa. Bí ọ̀bá ti tọ́wọ́ yóò lò lọ́wọ́ kò ní sọ́dọ̀ àtà náà.
ودعيتم حب الجنة ولم تعملوا.
Àwọn ọba ẹwà ìdẹ́nà àfẹ́wà ìdẹ́nà àṣìṣẹ́ ìdẹ́nà àjẹ́lú ó tò àjẹ́lú ọ̀dà gbogbo wa lọ́jọ́ kan.
وتؤمنون بالموت ولم تستعدوا.
Wọ́n dà wá kùn lọ́kàn àwọn apàlẹ̀mọ́ kú torí ẹjọ́ apàlẹ̀mọ́ kú ni pé kó ṣe kàkà rẹ̀. Àwọn àpẹẹrẹ ní ṣe ìtàn, àwọn àkọ́ ní kọ ìtàn, àwọn àpẹẹrẹ ní ka ìtàn. Àwọn tí ń ṣe ìtàn làwọn tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ lọ, Awólọ́wọ̀ ṣe ti ọ lọ, Bàlẹ́wà ṣe ti ọ lọ, àsìkò ìṣe ti ọ̀rọ̀ ìdákẹ́ni lè ṣe ti ọ̀rọ̀ bàbá wa kọ́tùnà tì í tọkọjá lọ́sì tí ó ṣe ti ọ̀rọ̀ ó ti ṣètàn àwọn tí ó kọ̀ ti kọ́ àwọn tí ó kà á kà lè wé ìwọ náà ń ṣètàn náà lé rẹ̀ ọmọ rẹ̀ ó pìtàn rẹ̀ ìyàwó rẹ̀ ó pìtàn rẹ̀ ìwọ náà ó pìtàn ìyàwó rẹ̀ ká ṣe dáadáa.
وتجبرون موتاكم ولا تعتبرون
ẹ̀gbọ́n wa kú àbúrò wa kú àwa aláti sọ fún ọ̀sẹ̀ nìkan ó ti parí wọn àti gbàgbé ẹ̀.
وترجون رحمة الله ولم ترحموا المساكين.
gbogbo aláàrin tí a lọ lọ sáré-kà bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìjọba tó fi pa ìwọ́n dáná pẹ̀lú ìyàwó rẹ̀ ẹ̀ ń jẹun kù àìsẹ́ ìjọ ń pàdé kíchìn ẹ̀ ní wọn ẹ̀ ẹ̀ wọn kí ló tẹ̀ dání pọ̀ sánú wọn àwọn olórí ọ̀sánú ọmọ ẹ̀ àwọn ọmọ ẹ̀ náà sánú ara wọn nǹkan mẹ́wàá wáyé kú àkókò mẹ́wàá.
وتعلمون الحساب ولم
a
تظلموا.
ṣe ṣòro a ṣe accountability wájú ọlọ́run ìjà palẹ̀ lọ fún àwọn ọ̀gá wa náà tí bílíọ̀nù owó tẹ́tì ẹ̀kọ́ yẹ tẹ́ ẹni mọ tí tí mọ̀ tí mo lọ́wọ́ àwọn oníwọ̀ èyí tẹ́ bínú gbà lọ́wọ́ àwọn èèyàn mo lọ́wọ́ èyí tẹ́ wá lọ́dà kò wúlẹ̀ tó lọ́ọ́ yá wà mo lọ́wọ́ bó wà ní fi ṣe pa owó ìyá sí ilé wa àdéhùn sọ̀tì ẹ̀kọ́ síwájú nígbà.
وتدعون الإسلام ولم تتمثلوا به.
gbogbo alájá mùsùlùmí adájọ polisi àwọn ẹni ń bọ̀ ní ẹ̀dá pẹ̀lú ayé padà tó délẹ̀ gbòtìrí lẹ́nu tá a fẹ́ sọ fún ìṣẹ́jú díẹ̀ ẹ̀já ṣàdúrà.
ẹ̀já ṣàdúrà.
اللهم إنا نسألك في بلادنا هذا الرحمة
Abẹ́lọ́ àánú,
والعافية
abẹ́lọ́ àlàáfíà,
والسلامة
abẹ́lọ́
ورضا منك
abẹ́lọ́ kóyọ̀ lọ́sọ̀rọ̀.
وباركت في مكة المكرمة وباركت في مدينة
Ó ti bàbá àti mọ́tà àti pàtó Mẹ́dínà.
علينا رحمتك في نيجيريا
Báwa sọ àánú rẹ̀ kalẹ̀ sí Nàìjíríà.
وسائرنا وقاداتنا وزعمائنا
Gbogbo àwọn olórí wa, àwọn ẹlẹ́mù wa, àwọn tí wọ́n fi síwájú fún wa
أهل البلد
nílùú yìí
في أفريقيا
àti ní Áfíríkà lápapọ̀
على لكل يا رب
àti gbogbo
العالمين.
àgbáyé lápapọ̀ ọlọ́wọ́ wa.
اللهم نسأل هذا في بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. àtàwọn tó ti dàgbà tó ní fẹ̀yìntì àtàwọn tó ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ọlọ́mọba fún mi o ọlọ́mọba pẹ̀lú mi o àbíkẹ́ ẹsẹ̀ náà ìtọ́ àlùbáríkà ní ọlọ́mọba ìtọ́ àlùbáríkà fún mi ìyànlọ́wọ́ tẹ́ máa fi sí ọlọ́mọba sí fún mi alámúnáṣẹ́ wa kọ̀.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك إن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب فإلى
mọ̀tọ́lá máa ń ṣe ọ̀dọ́ akáyọ̀ pé ẹ̀yìn tí ẹnu tí mo gbọ́dọ̀ dà pọ̀ mi kọ́dà tí mo ń tẹ́ iná wò lọ́ra yìí ìpàdé kò tẹ́ fún mi kọ́dà tí mo tẹ́ sí kò fẹ́ ògbóni náà láti síwájú ọlọ́run ọgbà lórí àpá ọmọdé mọ́tẹ́ lọ́ba sàlékún àlàáfíà àsàlékún àlàáfíà gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ ká ṣe àdúrà alifáàtà. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين ọlọ́run bá wí pẹ́sẹ́ntì wọ́n wà ní akim baba ahmed alàgbà wa tó ń pọ̀ ọlọ́kùnrin náà àwọn ọmọ ìjọba náà lọ́wọ́ ìjọba náà yọ lórí ìjọba wa Tinubu ọdún gbogbo àwọn tó ń ní àyè kọ̀ọ̀kan ní stéètì ọ̀kan ìjọba àwọn mínísítà ìjọba àwọn ọ̀nà gbogbo ní ọ̀sàdó àwọn ìdílé náà fi fẹ́ ìfọlọ́mọba fi dáadáa nàìjíríà bá fi sí lọ́kàn ọba wà lọ́kàn ní orí ẹsẹ̀ tẹ́ ẹ bá fẹ́ sí àwọn tí kìyàn lọ́wọ́ ni wọ́n ní lọ́wọ́ wọ́n tẹ́ ní yóò fún fún mi lálàáfíà ní àdúgbò ẹ̀ ìsinmi lára máa ń lọ ní àdúgbò ẹ̀
كبروا الله كبروا الله
Allahu Akbar.
adúgbò fún àwọn bàbá wa sheikh yahoo afáńlá abdulmajid ẹlẹ́yà kí ọlọ́run jẹ́ àríwọ̀ pẹ́ kí ọlọ́run jẹ́ pẹ́ tó kàn lórí dáadáa.
Since to do that actually is one of our PhD scholars of UMA here in the University of Lagos. This is a very short point for Sheikh should have been done before Sheikh did his presentation, but we're just trying to manage the time. He is by name Yusuf Olamide Balogun, who has a poem for Sheikh. Bismillah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
إذا من يموت القدر كل الإجابة. إذا من شتيم صاحب القدر نوبة. The Vice President of Nigeria, Mr. Kashim Shettima, وجامعة من قادها فتحية. To the Vice Chancellor of University of Lagos. وبارك وعطاء صاحب التاج أنزادا His Royal Highness Honorable Abada وصاحب كرسي لنا طوبى جلسادا the chairman of this wonderful occasion, the president, and to every dignitaries, my brothers and sisters, my fathers and mothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
أقول لكم أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكل لسان قد بكل جوارح أقول لكم أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا دليل سرور حل أحشاها فارح ولله إذا حل الظهر خير ناسه إلى البر يدعو راجع للقبائل بكل لسان بل بكل جوارح أقول لكم أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا داود أفضل بشكل لوري عجيب طبعي بما بثه علما عليما نوافع بما عتموا من خير ورث نافع بكل وقار بل بكل تواضع أقول لكم أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بضيف كريم لا يرد نزوله oṣù alápẹ̀lẹ̀ òun náà láti fi oṣù tó ṣe pé láyé ọdún nuzuluhu ẹni tí ó bá fẹ́ gbàlejò nígbà tó ìlú sọ pé fún mi lásìkò díẹ̀ àmọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ lọ́rùn yẹn lè sọ pé fún mi lóṣù kan àbí kan tó fi jẹ́ pé bíbọ́ ìkẹ̀rí ní láyé ọdún nuzuluhu àbí ọ̀mọdọ́nà àbí kí bàbá àbí kí gbogbo ẹni tí tẹ́lẹ̀ kalẹ̀ bisari ata bàjẹ́ haramẹ́ ìyànàbù ìdálẹ́bí ìbùsùrọ̀ ìtàbàdà ìdálóhù برمضان شهر الصبر إذ أتى أهله أقول لكم أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا إلى جامع الأنفس أولي الجوامع Akifabo to our prestigious University of Lagos, the champion of universities in Nigeria and not only in Nigeria and Africa, we can also say it's one of the contemporary universities in the world. إلى ربع أفضل خير المنابع إذا قدموا بالطيبات بطابع فتتجاوز مطلوبنا ولا لا تكي بكل علوم طيبات لجامع أقول لكم أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا السلام عليكم.
Thank you very much. We would like to appreciate a scholar, a PhD scholar in the Department of Cell and Genetics, and he's also a scholar of Uma in this university. And that's why a lot of times we talk about the fact that we should support the course of Uma so that we can increase the number of Muslims that have postgraduate qualification from this university. This is the sample. Yes, he's actually doing his PhD in cell biology and genetics. They look at the way he has actually utilized the language of Arabic, to really respect and honor our father. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless him. So right now we are moving on to the discussions. So listen to the speakers, the first and second speakers. So they've actually done the lecture. So now it's a discussion of breaking it down to pushables that we can actually digest. So the first of the discussants that I will invite to the podium is our father, Dr. Idris Aladdin, who is the Executive Director of Education and consultant in Lungu Business School. Join us a welcome, Dr. Idris Aladdin.
الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اتبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
First, I would like to appreciate our father, the Sheikh, for the wonderful lecture that he has presented and for giving us a theological angle to our challenge as a people and as a nation. And these theological angles are very important for us. And I hope that by the time we take everything in, we'll be able to benefit more from it, inshallah. Thank you very much, sir.
I listened to Brother Lee earlier on and the wonderful presentation that he has made. And believe me, I didn't plagiarize. I listened to my presentation to Professor Khalid about 5 days back. And I didn't ask him for Brother Lee's presentation. So you will see a lot of overlap. A lot of overlap in our presentation because I didn't copy. But I only have a twist to the way I want to discuss. This is the next one. So what I'd like to do is to look at Nigeria and say, what is it that is actually playing off at the moment? Why are we crying? What is the issue? And the issue ranges from increase in fuel price. Okay? And this increase in fuel price has resulted in inflation, which has affected a number of products and services across Nigeria. Because as a people, anything that affects fuel price affects any other thing. That's our opinion. Okay, also, we talked about terrorism, kidnapping, insurgency, banditry, and effects on food production. And I asked, did these bandits and these kidnappers, they come from another country? Are they not Nigerians? So they are our brothers, my brothers, and your brothers, and our sisters, and our neighbor, and we know them and we are not reporting them. So what do we expect? Imagine, it won't happen. We have to be proactive. We can't leave all of this to just law enforcement. We have to do something different. The argument that Nigeria is an oil-producing nation, so we should have all the oil cheap the way we want, won't happen because we're importing finished products, DNS, ATO, we're importing everything. And every other nation in the world is importing its own inflation wholesale. So we are importing their inflation. While they are exporting the inflation, we are busy importing the inflation from other countries. So I say globally between harvest and retail in Nigeria, but I didn't spoke so much about water. But for us as a nation, as compared to other countries of the world that are led in terms of agriculture, between harvest and retail, they lost 14% of their produce. Nigeria lost a whooping 40%. So how do we want to continue to feed 200 million people with primitive equipment? All our capacity to feed 200 million people plus, it's not possible. So while communities can provide some relief to vulnerable households, it is difficult to identify and sufficiently cover the vulnerable population that will be most impacted. It is difficult. Once you say you want to give palliative, the people who can afford will give. Those are some of our challenge. So who do you know is poor? Who do you give to? Next slide. So what I try to do is to look at development indicators. One is Nigeria and other emerging countries in the world. And what I've done here is that I have chosen Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. And I've looked at the inflation rate in the last 40 years. So I plotted the inflation rate for the last 40 years for these three countries. And I look at it where we are. We have not even hit the inflation rate of 1986. We have not. This is it. So what I then did thereafter is to now superimpose the lending rate, which is the interest rate on inflation. Next slide. This is it. So what are we doing? All of us know the analysis of Nigerian problem, but nobody is providing solution. We are all talkers. We just talk. No solution. That's what we're doing. Next time. So, I now look at what is subsidized economy. If we continue to subsidize this economy the way the last administration did, this economy is going to collapse in 3 years. Fact for facts. So what we have to do is to take that subsidy from this economy. To take it out is going to be painful. Facts. It's going to be very, very painful. People say, no, the ordinary man on the Nigerian street is feeling the pain more. I say, who are the ordinary man on Nigerian street? Look, let us look at all of us that are still in this hall. From head to toe, everything we're wearing is foreign. Important. All of us. That's what we're doing. Now, if that is what we're doing, how do we expect that we'll save Naira? We can't save Naira. We have to take Nigeria and buy Nigeria. When I was doing my master's in India, it was a time when they were doing Be India, Buy India. Be India, Buy India. And the first thing they did was they looked at what they call the off-budget products, spirits, wine, and those expensive stuff. And they put 5,000% duty on them. To discourage anybody from buying it, they have their own, if you want to take it and buy. If you want to buy the one that is imported, this one to pay extra. Nigerians, they were importing broom into this economy. Broom! Or whatever. We are importing it from China into Nigeria with forex. So in June 2020, the managing director of NNPC indicated that the daily consumption of PMS has increased to over 103 million daily. I would consume 103 million of petrol in Nigeria. How? We're not consuming it. We're busy using it to subsidize the entire West African coast. To take it to the Republic, Cameroon, everywhere is not going to be. This means that smugglers and other West African countries benefit more from the fuel subsidy. The first people that protested with the increment in fuel prices were not Nigerians. They were people at the border, other countries around Nigeria. We won't protest. We are busy subsidizing them. And we can't continue to subsidize them. Next slide. Okay, so this is what I did. I looked at the fuel subsidy from 2013 to 2022. And this is the way it has grown. And we ended up in 2022 with 4.4 trillion naira subsidizing fuel. I also picked the total fuel subsidy by federal government allocation to the critical sector in the past 9 years. Look at fuel subsidy, 11.5 trillion, defense 7.0 trillion, education 6.2 trillion, healthcare sector 4.2 trillion. So what should we take out? As a people, if each and every one of us is to edge this country, what do we take out? Next slide. This is, I try to redress the market economy, trying to redress fuel subsidy against other things that is very for attention. And fuel subsidy actually go them up. 2022, 4.390 trillion was fuel subsidy, while health, infrastructure, education, all combined, 3.5 trillion. These are realities we don't want to hear because it is very difficult and it must happen to us. When we had money, we didn't use infrastructure, we wasted it. Now, our population has grown to 200 million people. We now have to put pressure on the economy. We don't have infrastructure. So what do we do? There was a time in this country where we had cement Amanda. I'm sure older people remember. Cement Amanda. That was when Nigeria imported so much cement that it started going into Atlantic Ocean. Next slide. So, contradictional economic policy, food inflation. Why are we having food inflation? Transportation is happening to it, bad habits is happening to it, banditry is happening to it. But what do we need to do? Most of the issues have been discussed around banditry and kidnapping. There is free flow of arms and ammunition across the air. Since the disbandment of Libya, arms have become pretty easy for everybody to own. And so, you give a sophisticated weapon to fools. This is what we expect. But we need to do that. We need to control it more, and we also need to there. Weaken naira, speculators. We've seen so many people across this country that have a lot of dumb accounts, and that's why they move money. We had similar challenge in Africa, in Ghana, 3 years ago, and you saw what the government of Ghana did. Very proactive. They closed down all the dumb accounts and they took it over. Yeah, people say, yeah, that's it. That's what they did in Ghana. It's tough. And that is why Nigeria and Ghana is actually marked for lower growth in 2024 and 2025 according to the African Development Bank. Our interest rate is high, it's now higher. This point today, the NPR was moved up again. So we now have a higher interest rate as well. So we need to lower the cost of governance. We need to lower the cost of governance. People in government should understand that when people are sacrificing, they should also sacrifice. They cannot continue to ask people to sacrifice without them sacrificing. So this is very important. We can't be hungry and right this. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't also be having 1 or 2 government officials going away and going around and you have to tax cars, all being fueled by public funds driving around it. That's wrong. Then the tax net needs to be wider. Please also spoke about it critically in the month, so I don't want to repeat what you said. Next time. Now, what are the future benefits? We need to start reducing government borrowing. Because look at our current year budgets. What we're going to use to service the budget is what is needed in the fiscal sector. But unfortunately, we will not be able to do that. We will continue to serve the money that we're borrowing. We need to free resources for investment in the other critical sector. If we don't free those resources and begin to look at other critical sectors, particularly in manufacturing, we have to go back to manufacturing. If we don't go back to manufacturing and look at export market, we will not be able to save our currency. So we need to look at manufacturing. We need to also reduce or remove incentive for smuggling and associated security risks. Then, look at what I've created in red, stronger naira and decline in imported inflation. How do we stop this? If we don't produce, let me give an instance with cocoa. All we do is that we import the cocoa raw. And when it's coming back in the form of chocolate drink or whatever, or chocolate bar, it is 10 to 20 times the price of what it is. So we need to do something different. The downstream sector of the economy, the oil sector, requires new, fresh cash. The old cash won't do it. Unfortunately, it's a race. While we're looking at that, the whole world is moving away from fuel. So it's a big race, but we need to look at it critically on what we need to do. We need to look at new profitable players in the downstream sector and improve sovereign credit rating. As a nation, our credit rating needs to go up. Today, anybody wants to do business with Nigeria is afraid. Also, when you look at Indo-Pakistani region, you see that their remittance, foreign remittance is higher around the world. Why ours is struggling? Even while we have more Nigerians going abroad, they're not remitting home. Next one. Okay, so if you look at this, if you look at all of these and put it together, we find ourselves in a situation where we need to do things differently. Just 4 weeks ago, Egypt says they are not going to buy anything in dollar and they are not going to pay for anything in dollar. That's a decision they made. Also, if Nigeria wants to do trade with Nigeria in Africa, Egypt in Africa, Nigeria in West Africa, Ghana in West Africa, what is the business of dollar? What is dollar doing in that business? I want to sell to Benin Republic. The Republic want to buy from me. What dollar means? Is something wrong with Africans? Can't we have a common denominator? Can't we have a common exchange? Can't we have a value that we can share among ourselves? Why do we have to bring in dollar? They say, no, America is also borrowing. America can borrow, but America does not pay debt. All it needs to do is just to bring more dollar. But we have to pay, and for us to pay, we have to export. So we need a common denominator across the board. Now, if you want to send a letter from Nigeria to Gambia, you better send that letter to America. Somebody send it to America to Gambia. That is how difficult it is. No infrastructure to do anything. And yet we want the economy to change money. It won't happen. So we have to look at things that we need to do differently. Then when you look at the labor, that's the last part I think. When you look at the labor is not workable. When you take a fresh graduate into the private sector to come and work, you can't do anything. You have to start training all over again. So education is going one parallel, reality is going the other way. They are not meeting, even in heaven they will not meet. Now, so we need to see how we harmonize this so that we have labor that is talking to the reality of the economy. The issue of power that we've spoken about so much, no, it's because there's no power. The first question I asked is, in the days when we used to have power, what did we do? Okay, the nations of the world today that are building are all of them on the national grid. Who are the nations that are going? Malaysia, 73% of national grid. Pakistan, 64% of national grid. India, 83% of national grid. So even if there is power, where are the people that will work the system? If we want to put a people in this place, we'll probably go to the Republic who are going to work. The artisans have all left the job. So we need to do something different. We need to look at education differently. We need to look at power differently. And the only way for us to do that is we need to see that we have to produce things that work for us as a nation and as a people. We have to come more with our own system that works. And those systems that will work for us are something that we have to build in-house of ourselves. Agriculture, we have to find a way to train these people in agriculture. The application of herbicide, as well as fertilizer, harvesting, and better things for farming. We need to do that. And I think these are the areas that I want to speak. Thank you, sir.
And just like Dr. mentioned, I think these are bitter foods that we do not really like to talk about. But of course, we'll take that conversation further, inshallah, with our second discussant. Very quickly, Professor of Economics from the Lagos State University, Professor Jamila Yaku, who is coming from the Department of Economics, Lagos State University of Nigeria. And she obtained a BSc in Economics from the University of Ilorin and an MSc from University of Lagos in 1991. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Professor Yaku Jamila. Thank you very much.
I want to stand on the existing protocol because of time, but despite that, I want to appreciate the organizer of today's lecture. This lecture is actually important to me because some years back, the Uma lecture served as the launching pad for my teaching career in the university. So I want to appreciate the organizers and the YKO and my husband too, because they are all facilitators to my entry into the teaching profession. So, coming to today's lecture, which is economic reforms for Nigeria, challenges and prospects. The earlier speakers have spoken on the need for economic reform. We've seen the picture painted of Nigeria as a country in abundance, but with a lot of social ills that has made us to be classified as the poverty capital in the world. So with all this scenario, we see that there is a need for reform. We cannot run away from economic reform. However, what are the kind of reforms that we need to do? What are the challenges confronting our reform in the past and even the present one? And how do we get over these challenges? That's the area I want to pay attention to. We have had various reforms in the past. We have SAF, Babangida, we have NIS, we have transformation agenda. We all have lofty objectives. But how far have we been able to achieve these objectives? Those are the challenges that we have to show to ourselves. Why have we not achieved the objectives of these
various reforms. One of the things I have noted for our inability to achieve our objective is one, the objective of the reform seems to be imposed on us by the Bretton Woods institutions. Yes, we have challenges. We are poor. Our GDP growth rate is very low, 3% projected. But the people seem not to buy into the idea of reform that is imposed on us. The Bretton Woods institutions, they needed to impose reforms because it's like at the end of the day, we are coming back to them to borrow. So if we have to come back to them to borrow, they have to give us conditionality. And that is why they are telling us that for you to get more aid, you need to reform your economy. Why are they saying that? You see, our system of governance is so much expensive, as has been elaborated by Dr. Ibre. So for you to be able to borrow, then you need to trim down the government. Because of that, they are telling us reform so that we can get more aid or more support. But the people are not buying into those reforms, and that is a major challenge that we face in reform in Nigeria. Number two, what is our national goal as a country? The reform that we have had in the past, yes, we want to increase food production, but what is our target? What level of food security do we want to attain? We know we are consumers of bread, we are consumers of rice. What is our target for rice and bread production or wood production in Nigeria? That we have not been able to set. Do we have a national goal that everybody buys into? Even if there is a national goal, do we all subscribe to that national goal? That is one area that is missing. Call your children, your 21-year-old child. What is the national goal of Nigeria? He or she cannot say. I cannot say as a person. What is our national goal? So our reforms must rally us around to have a national goal that we all subscribe to, irrespective of our political lineage. What do we want to achieve as a nation? India, after the Second World War, they had the crisis, food crisis, and they got themselves together that henceforth they will never depend on anybody for food. And today, they are exporters of food. So Nigeria as a nation, what is our national goal regarding food security? What is our target for attaining this food security? Our report is here to address those issues. So we need to address them. Also, there is the issue of crop deficit. When you impose reforms on people, are you also reforming yourself? Many of our leaders, they will tell us sacrifice, use made in Nigeria. Are they using made in Nigeria? So we need to ensure that there is increase in trust between the led and the leaders. This is really lacking, and that is one of the challenges we have in our reforms in Nigeria. Nobody believes the political leader. Even when they have good intention, you don't trust them anymore. To address this, there must be a lot of dialogue between the led and the leaders. And also, we have always been focusing attention at the national government. Yes, the national government should show the direction of leadership or direction of the force, but it does not absorb the sub-regional government of their own responsibilities. How many state governors have addressed the issue of food insecurity? How many local governments have addressed the issue of food insecurity? We need to start holding these people accountable so that our reforms can actually work. Then also, reform is about people. Because when you reform, the policies will have to be implemented by civil servants, the policies have to be bought by ordinary man in the streets. Are the civil servants buying into our reforms? When the government says, this is how from director of transform Unilag is here, this is how we should behave as a university. Are the staff also buying into that idea? There's a video circulating now, going around, that customs were indicted in corruption or whatever, whether true or not, that we all know what is happening in society. So when the government says this is the reform activity, first reform is there. You want to make it easy for people to bring in goods into Nigeria. You want to encourage out one foreign exchange. But these people are faced by impediments every day at the port. So bringing your truck from the port and from outside to the port, the normal fee is about 35,000 naira. But you won't pay anything less than 180,000 to get your truck to enter the port. So if we do like this, how will the port reform, how will it work? How will it be effective? So there are many areas that we need to address when it comes to civil servants and the implementation of reforms. Because reforms cannot be implemented except it goes through the public servants. Then also individuals, when you take a policy does not work in isolation. It works through our reaction to the policy. Now the Monetary Policy Committee has increased the monetary policy rate. What they expect is that interest rates will adjust accordingly and borrowing will reduce. They are doing this with the aim that is going to bring down inflation. But if we continue to borrow, will inflation come down? No. So how do we react to reform? Nigerians are not used to reacting to reforms as expected. Perhaps we have expected, there is no more expectation that government can take as a surprise on us. Maybe we have anticipated their policies and we have reacted accordingly. But we are expected to respond to reforms so that reforms can be effective. And that is why the people have to be carried along with the formation of policies that involve reforms. Also, we have to note that for every policy, there are gainers and there are losers. So for every reform, some people will gain, some people will lose. Whether you are a gainer or a loser, your reaction determines the outcome of that reform. How do the gainers behave? Is it winner takes all? If it is winner takes all, then that reform may not be effective. How do the losers, how do they react? Do they just hold their hands? Or do they look for alternative means to survive? These are things that we need to address. We have said there are gainers and there are losers. Political leaders are there to maintain themselves in power. So when they carry out a reform, they will have anticipated who the losers and who the gainers are. The gainers in most cases, they may be their sponsors. Because reform does not just come in isolation. People bring the idea to government. Do this, do that for the betterment of the country. But that betterment sometimes is biased, is selfish. So it means there are some people that anticipate some gains before suggesting reforms to government. How do those people, what do they do with the gain? Then what does the government do to the users? How do you compensate the users? It's very, very important in reform. And that has not been well managed by past governments. Most of the time, it's only when the users start to agitate, when they start to protest, that is when government knows that, oh, there's a problem. But as a serious government, you are supposed to do a cost-benefit analysis of the reforms before you even roll it out. When you do a cost-benefit analysis, you look at the cost. Who are those people bearing the cost? How do we ameliorate the cost to these people? It is very, very essential. What kind of palliative do you want to put in place? Not the better palliative, but palliatives that will be effective, that will reach to the grassroots, so that users will not feel alienated. Is very, very important. And lastly, on the challenge, how are the youth carried along? Youth constitute about 40% of our population. If 40% are not carried along in our reform process, how do you expect that reform to be effective? Because the youth are the leaders of today and tomorrow. Because they are already taking leadership positions. They need to be carried along. They have to buy into it. What we find out nowadays is that our youth, they have lost hope in this country. Majority of them, they don't believe Nigeria has a future. So it is the role of we parents or elderly people to bring back to them that in a while that there is hope. We should not lose hope as a nation. And the only way to bring the nation out of the wood is for all of us to do something positive for Nigeria. There's nobody that is called Mr. Nigeria. It is you and I that is Nigeria. And the GDP that we are talking about is contributed by you and I. So if we don't contribute, there won't be any GDP. So it means every youth has a role to play to ensure that our reforms are working, our reforms are effective. So looking at the prospects, to get the best from our reform, we need to engage in social education. Social education is not just advertising on TV or on radio. Policy makers must go into the streets to let the people know what they want to do and how they want to do it and the possible consequences and what government has in place to address the negative consequences. Social education is very, very important because at times government may have good intention, but the people they don't believe in it because they don't know or they don't trust. So if when you say, when we remove subsidy on petrol, we are going to use it to give you good roads. We say, the one in the past, here's the road. People want to see that you are really serious. So you need to carry the people along by social education. Also, there is a need to improve domestic business climate. Dr. Dupree has mentioned that. We need to also increase the quality of our social sector spending. Where do we spend on? Education is there, health is there, just a little proportion is spent on it. Whereas such much amount goes for subsidy, and we know that subsidy is subsidizing the whole of West Africa. So we need to really look into that. How do we improve spending on social sector? Tackling insecurity, that cannot be emphasized. All the speakers have also mentioned it. Government at all levels must also be held accountable. Not only the federal, our state government, our local government must be held accountable. Then also, there must be consequences for wrongdoing. That is not happening enough in Nigeria. ICPC is there, EFCC is there, we hear them arrest, but we don't know what happens thereafter. Yes, some might be prosecuted, but it has to be publicized so that the public can know that there is consequence for wrongdoing. It is very, very important. Also, I've mentioned national goals. We also need to reform our activities as individuals. Our actions contribute to the national, whatever we arrive at, inflation rate, unemployment rate, GDP. It is our individual actions. So what am I doing as a person to make sure that Nigeria grows? What am I doing as a person to make sure that Nigeria develops? What is my productivity as a teacher, as a trader, as a civil servant? What am I doing? Am I doing it right? So when we are talking of reform, you need to reform yourself first. And you carry that reform to your family. Those of us who are teachers or lecturers, we know what happens in the school. And we know it is from the homes. Homes are yet to be reformed. So let us reform our homes so that our reform agenda in Nigeria can actually be fruitful. I could recall the other statue like the one that was kind of Africa. What is that?
Wow. That's wonderful. We thank our Professor Jamila Yato for that discussion. Sincerely, she has been able to break it, and I think all that she said actually reverberates with a lot of people, especially the youths. The youths today actually have lost trust in this country, and that's a fact. It has got worse to the point that they tell you, may Nigeria never happen to you. Imagine that. If the youth are saying may Nigeria never happen to you, what is it that we're saying? That the future of this country is already gone. So it's, quite a fact that we really need to connect with over 40% of the population of this country. And Professor Yaku, has really said a lot. The trust deficit, between the people and their leaders is right there. They tell us that buy Nigeria to grow the naira. The truth is, we also buy the naira. The Nigeria we know lawmakers actually rejected it in their cars. They told us that they want foreign cars. So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, assist us. So, inshallah, I would like to recognize the presence of the Chief Medical Director of Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luke, and Professor Wasil Adeyemo. You're very much welcome, sir. For coming. All right, so inshallah, I'll be moving on to the Google messages. Apologies, we might not be able to take questions. But before we take the Google messages, two things. First, we would like to present plaques to all our facilitators here today. So, all right. So while that is being done, I have this instruction from the organizing committee that we have in Umar, a scholarship program. The president attested to that fact, and I've been told that all past recipients of the Umar scholarship, if you are here in this hall, I actually want you to come out so the people who recognize the fact that yes, Umar has done a lot. At the same time, I would also like to see the indulgence of the Vice President, represented by the FC policy, Dr. Akim Ahmed, to please bear with us. We have some good messages. After that, you would bring us the message of the Vice President, because after the Vice President talks, I don't think anybody should actually say anything again. So we'd like to reserve the best for the last. So we'd like that he bears with us. So right now, alright, so the first presentation of the plaque that we have is that of our father, Sheikh Dawood, our father, Abdul Majid, and that will be done, that will be presented by the chairman of the BOT, who also doubles as the president of Muslim Ummah Southwest Nigeria, our father, Al-Hajj Abdul Razak Allah. Thank you. The cameraman. So the chairman will be presented to Dr. Jubri Salanti. The chairman of the education of the Al-Haji Wale Shmai. Then the BBC PS will be presented to Professor Jamila Yaraku. Thank you very much. Alright, so right now, to appreciate all our facilitators for the knowledge they have appreciated with us today. So right now, we'll be taking some of the Google messages that will have quickly just 2 minutes or thereabout to have each of the messages. First, will be that of the beauty chairman himself, and the high level. Thank you.
Allahu Akbar.
All beautiful living of that. On behalf of the University of Lagos Muslim alumni, I want to thank all the speakers today and the discussant. We have actually benefited a lot. I'm sorry for my voice from their exposition. They have said one thing which I think is very important for us to use, and
withdrawal. Many Nigerians appear not to understand that if we continue with petroleum subsidy, by now, many of us, in fact, no country now will be in crisis. So that policy decision was the right one. I remember that in 1983, far away in Washington, the government of Nigeria at that time was actually advised to remove subsidy on petroleum. But the government at the time did not do it because it was an election year, and they cannot withdraw subsidy in an election year. That was why people in Nigeria here, Muhammad Buhari did not, actually withdraw subsidy, even though it was in the budget of 2023. So, all of us, we have plans here today that Nigeria's problems actually are some of our own problems. As our spiritual leaders mentioned, that we have to curtail our expenses on social events, particularly on weddings, burials, and even ceremonies. I think it's very, very important, and I think we should carry it very well. Because many of us are still indulged in that. Let's try and be very frugal in our expenses. I also want to inform you that coming here today, you are actually having the advantage of two lectures. This one and that of 28, the Ramadan lecture, which is in this book here, by Dr. Louis Samuel, the national transformation between responsible leaders and responsible citizens. Please let's try and look at it when we get at what to do. I read it. It's very, very important. Once again, thank you for coming. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi Yisrael, Rahman wa Sifu, Wassalamu ala al-Mursalin, walhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
Takbir. So that's the good message from the DOT chairman, Al-Hajj Razak, like I said, is the president of Muslim Ummah of Southwest Nigeria, and he also doubles as the vice president of Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in the Southern region. Alright, so right now, inshallah, we'll take the second video message, and that will be coming from one of the former vice presidents of the Christian Leaders. Here is Professor Rahman Takbir. Alright. So as he comes, let me just tell us that for those of us that did the proper registration at the registration desk and you got your emails, the organizers will send copies of the presentations that we had today to our various mailboxes. So inshallah, I'm expecting that.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, I would like to while standing or sitting or kneeling on a simple call, appreciate the presence of a Vice President of the Nation, ably represented, the Chairman of the event, Alaji Subani, also ably represented. My Vice Chancellor also is represented. The Chairman of the Board of Trustees, and our able lecturers and sponsors. I just want to commend UMA, University of Lagos alumni, for ensuring continuity in the quality of the Ramadan lectures that we have had. The Ramadan lectures have now become part of the calendar of the University of Lagos. And people usually look up to us that kind of event when Ramadan is approaching. Because the intellectual discourse that comes up during these lectures is represented. And I believe as we move on that we need to compile these lectures into a booklet or a series of things that will be useful for future researchers to use. Because if you look at the topics every year, they are really dealing with the issues of the time, not only as it concerns Muslims alone, but as concerns the whole of the country and how the nation and Muslim woman will progress. So I want to say kudos to women, and I believe that the University of Lagos has been benefiting from this, and I want to benefit from this. So on behalf of myself and my family, and also the University of Lagos management, I'm sure I can speak for them today. We want to appreciate women for being there and for being ensuring that this is a major item on the University of Lagos calendar. Congratulations, women. Thank you very much.
èyí tí abẹ́lọ́ ní kọ́lọ́hún ṣẹ́wà pẹ̀lú àlàáfíà kìí ṣe lè ní àkọ́kọ́ rí nínú ìṣòro al-azmatul iqtisadiyya àmọ́ sí austerity àbí àwọn ìṣòro tó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí ṣùgbọ́n lọ́wọ́ bá nú kó tó di pé Ramadan òdì á tún ṣèkẹ́ pẹ̀lú pé kí ni ká máa bẹ̀ lọ́hùn ọlọ́run ní لولا دعاؤكم قل ما يأبأ بكم ربي لولا دعاؤكم فقد كفرتم وسوف يكون لزاما Olúwa ní tí ìbá ṣe pé ẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ mí ẹ̀ ń pè mí ní bá ti fìyà jẹ yín àdúrà tá à ń ṣe òun náà láti máa ṣe kí gbogbo àná ọ̀sẹ̀ padà nínú àbútá ń bá ń hù nínú ọ̀rọ̀ tá a sọ ń bì ní pé tá a bá bùjọba kíjọba ò ṣe dá àwọn aráàlú náà kọ́ pẹ̀lú àjọṣe nínú ilé ìtí Ramadan fẹ́ kọ́ wa ìwà rẹ̀ náà ni wa an tasumu khairun lakum in kuntum ta'lamun ká lè jáwọ́ ìdá àti sílọ̀ láti mọ ìwà rẹ̀ kalẹ̀ torí tí pírẹsidẹ́ntì bá fẹ́ wọ̀ lù àátúnbù ṣe àátúnrí àwa ṣe káwa náà tún ọkàn wa ṣe ká tún lé wa ṣe ká tún ìmánì wa ṣe sọ́lọ̀ kó tó dìgbà yẹn nínú Ṣàbáànù Ọlọ́run ó ti ṣèdẹ̀kùn Ọlọ́run ní ká máa pè wọn ká máa bẹ̀ wọn ká dẹ̀ túnra wa ṣe wọ́n fún àwọn ọ̀dọ́ àtàràlú nímọ̀ràn yìí pé ká má pààrùn jẹ ká sì má ṣàbòsí ká má ṣe dáadáa ká má wá ṣàdúrà fún ìjọba kọ́lọ́run jẹ́ wọn orí sí torí gbogbo ẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀ yẹn Ọlọ́run àti lọ́wọ́ wa àti lọ́wọ́ ìjọba Ọlọ́run gbàdúrà wa àdúrà ní ká máa ṣe àti dáadáa.
Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon.
You're looking good this afternoon.
Thank you.
Please, ma, can we meet you your name?
Okay, I'm Professor Jamila Yakub from Department of Economics, Lagos State University.
That's really beautiful, ma. So, ma, economic reforms for Nigeria. Please, can you explain a bit about that topic?
Okay, economic reforms, as we are all aware, is changing in government policy in order to achieve some objectives. And most of the time, it is always reform towards opening the economy for market activities. Yeah, Nigeria has had a lot of economic reforms. Some of them, we've been able to transform the nature of the economy. We've been able to move it towards market basis from government command. However, because most of the time, the people feel alienated in the formulation of the policy, people don't actually buy in. They don't show commitment to the policies. And without the commitment of the populace, policies cannot be effective. And like I said, leadership must also show example. People want to see that, oh, our leaders that are calling for reforms are also reformed. So there's the need for governments, political office holders to actually show the example by making sure that they are also reformed, by cutting down on the cost of governance, by making sure that they live simple life, and by believing, showing that they actually believe in Nigeria. Buy made in Nigeria, use made in Nigeria, so that will encourage the populace to also buy into the reforms of the government.
So, in what way can we make in what way can we make Nigerians actually settle with the reform of the government?
One way is to ensure that the government also show example, and also there should be social education. People have to be carried along, not only on TV and radio, because many people don't even listen to TV and radio. Government should also make use of social media. They should also go from house to house campaign, market to market campaign, and the awareness should be carried out by the federal, the state, and the local government. It's not just at the central, but at all subnational governments, so as to buy in the support of the people. And then youths are critical to the success of any government policy. Like we said, youth constitute about 40% of our population. That 40% cannot be neglected. They are already the leaders and they are the future leaders. So they have to be carried along. We have to come to a round table and make sure that they buy into the Nigerian project.
Thanks so much for your time, and thanks so much for that insight, ma'am.
It's my pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you? Thank you so much. You're looking beautiful too. I am Senator Shaiba Falabi Salisu. I'm the chairman of Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security. But more relevantly, I'm the immediate past president of University of Lagos Muslim Alumni.
That's really good. That's good, sir. So, sir, economic reforms, what can you say about that topic?
Well, reform is always a requirement for any growing society. You cannot develop if you don't take a stock of what you are doing and identify things that you need to be done differently. And that is reform. And every time you go, you do a reform. It comes with some pains, it comes with some challenges. So what the country is going through is to correct the mistakes of the past, is to look at the missed opportunity and see how we don't miss out on such opportunities again. It comes with some pain now, and at this point, I must also identify with Nigerians who are undergoing some hardship as a result of these reforms. But the solace and the consolation, if you ask me, is that there's clarity as to where the country is headed under President Bola Tinubu's Renew Hope agenda. So we must keep faith with him, we must support him whilst we navigate through this difficult challenges period that we are.
Thanks so much for that insight. So, we as youths, or let me say Nigerians at large, how do we cope with these challenges? Like, how do we cope with it? Is there any ways that you can tell us on how we can cope with it?
Well, in the midst of challenges lie opportunities, by the way. And if you see the cycle of even global challenges that we have had, it's in the midst of those challenges that new solutions, new enterprises sprang up. So for Nigerian youth, who constitute 70% of the populace, they should also, first and foremost, look beyond the challenges and ask, what solutions can we provide at this point in time? A country of over 20 million people is a large market enough. And therefore, let's begin to see in the areas of agriculture and the areas of entrepreneurship, creative industry, the Nigerian youth can unleash their potentials, moving away from those antisocial vices like Yahoo and those other activities that are not productive. So we must ensure that the Nigerian youth look very closely and take the benefit of the challenge opportunity in the environment.
I heard you saying that you're a member of the Muslim alumni. So in what way has the Muslim alumni helped the Muslim community in the university or just the university at large?
Part of the thing we are doing today is that we are providing scholarship to indigenous students. We have done close to 200. We are going to 1,000. And today we are also targeted to create another 100 in the next few years. And in addition to that, we also do capacity building for the final year students, for them to know that life outside university cannot just be, white collar job. They also look at the entrepreneurship. This we do in collaboration with the university. The other thing we also do in collaboration with the university is campaigns against social vices like drug abuse. So University of Lagos Muslim Alumni is a strong partner of University of Lagos, and we are proud of that partnership.
Thank you very much, bro. All right, so this juncture will also be having another professorial video message. This time around a female. We have Professor Fatima Al-Karim, professor from the Department of Anatomic and Molecular Pathology, College of Medicine, University of Lagos. Professor Fatima Al-Karim will do the message. All right, sorry. Okay, I was told that I'd like to take a minute. So right now, it will be time for another one this time around from distinguished Senator Shrine of Bobby Salis. The distinguished Senator representing Open Central. Yes, and in the meantime, because he is the immediate past president of the University of Lagos Muslim Alumni, yes, and he knows a lot about the Umar Scholarship. So earlier I gave the instruction that all past owners.
The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the distinguished Senator, represented by one of the intellectual firepowers in the country, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, OON. I recognize him in his own person, in his own right. Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed has come from an illustrious family, and I'm extremely delighted to be associated with Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, Novi Baba Ahmed, Mufta Baba Ahmed, and all of them without exception, they are a university on their own. So I recognize you twice. I will be coming back to that very shortly, where the recognition is in 2 ways. So that when I need to speak to you as an individual, I will not speak to the Vice President. The Vice Chancellor of our great university, the nation's pride and university of first choice, Professor Folashade Ogushola, FAS, as ably represented by Professor Ayodele Victoria Aisha Atenua. And through you, I recognize the full complement of the management of the University of Lagos that are here. Indeed, we could constitute this into a congressional ceremony for the award of degrees. But I can also tell the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the idea, the Director of Quality Assurance, the Provost of the College of Medicine, and a number of other senior officials of the university. I must also at this point recognize our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Ramon Bello, the Chairman Board of Trustees, who also doubles as the President of Mosman, Alhaji Rasaki, remember, I didn't say Rasaki, the representative of Alhaji Yusuf Ali, the Chairman of today, Alhaji Uwale Shonaike, my very good brother, and the discussants and the guest lecturers, Professor Jamila Yaku, I must recognize you specifically. I am almost tempted to tell a story, but I will tell a story today. But suffice to say, I told your husband that I sit very close by, and I said you need to thank me because when we were in the MSS and MCAM at Federal College of Education at NYC camp, and whenever you wanted to visit, I used to carry out smuggler into the MSS bus. I want to tell that story. I'm not already telling the story. So when he was speaking as a professor, that small girl I need to school. Today I'm proud of you. Professor Yaku, I will thank you again for the job I did some close to 40 years ago.
the past president of UMA, I know have very limited time, but I know that I cannot speak after the vice president, first because he's vice president, and secondly because he's a ranking senator. Nonetheless, the president called me this Saturday. I was in Barcelona, and he said I must find a way of coming. And he said you are going to give a good message, but with specific instruction on the University of Lagos Scholarship Award. And at this point, I'm inviting to the podium all the new University of Lagos Muslim alumni scholars who are here. Please come to the podium, because you are to be celebrated today again. Mr. Vice President, my task is very simple. When the Nigerian University Commission came with a policy that the minimum requirement to teach in the university in Nigeria is paid.
I didn't come from.
The University of Lagos Muslim alumni asked ourselves, what can we do with this regard? And we therefore set out to produce 100 PhD holders to support that drive and to provide the required human part development for the university. Today, we have reached 184 out of the 1,000 that we targeted. It is not just the number that is significant. Every time this university does its convocation, UMA scholars always win award. Either they have the best PhD thesis or they are the best scholar. They are combined knowledge and character together, and we are proud of what we have been able to achieve. But today, please come on. Well, you know, Professor Davina was like you that time. One day you also come here and be lecturing us. Who knows? Okay? These are UMA scholars. My assignment today is very simple. The president called me and said, today, we must raise 100 slots, 100 new scholars. If you are targeting 1,000, today alone, we must do 10% of that, particularly because the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is an alumnus of this university. That the target should be louder than that. How many universities have produced two Vice Presidents? Yellow Ojuba is from there, Ashik Tetima is from there. Let your target be louder. So my responsibility is to raise 100 slots. And I'm extremely proud that in my going around, I have realized about 37 slots, meaning that I have just 53 slots left. And I'm grateful to our legend who agreed to do 5 slots. One of his chiefs will do 2 slots. Myself, I also do 5 slots. Dr. Wagner will do 5 slots. Kole Azan, the middle part chairman of Blackmore, will do 2. FBO, my old friend, not only has agreed to do 2, unlike him, he has transferred money. So get money out of my friend. Ramadan spirit is around the corner. Thank you, FBO. I like the landlord that I agreed to do 2. You have seen a lot of FBO. Come on, but when Ramadan is approaching, account is changed. The gate of paradise open. So if those who study finance and they are correct, they know how to transfer money. Wale Shola Ike has done 3, and Wale Shola Ike, you are representing Yusuf Ali. As soon as you tell him that I was on the microphone, he knows what to do. Tell Yusuf Ali 5 slots for him. The Alhaji Area has agreed to do 1. Past President Shola Ike has also agreed to do 2. Retired Benota Professor Bello will give us 1 slot. And so Dr. Assis Provost of FCE will give us, is it 1 or 2 now? 1. Okay, I'll manage 1. He has agreed to give us 1. Alhaji and Professor Abukari will give us 2 slots. AS Bello has agreed to give us 1 slot. The National Executive Council of UMA itself, symbolically, will also do 1 slot. I'm sure they are doing a lot, but symbolically, they are also doing 1 slot. ASB of mention your name. Alhaji Rashid Adebuki. You know we discussed. In the aspect they call of IT professional. Let our yes. I'm still to say one. He won. Okay. He's going to give us one slot. So I have about 37 slots as of now. But I'm only going to handle those I know. For instance, I couldn't go around women for obvious reasons. And in the spirit of Ramadan. But what I'm going to do, for all of us who are here, a slot is 500,000 naira. Oh, by the way, I like the movie Dr. Mumin Alao has also agreed to do, is he a half or typical or one now? Okay, but he has agreed to do one as well. What I suspect we do, these people were past beneficiaries of the Kuma scholarship. For some of them, without that intervention, they probably have still realized their ambition, maybe a little more difficult. But we have made that a lot easier for them, and have also made us proud. The scholarships were not wasted. We have recorded amongst them the best teachers, presentation, the best graduates in humanity, in science, and also see that they also cut across both girls and females. What I'm asking to do today is that sometimes next year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, if you just help us to contribute now, 1 slot, 2 slots, we'll be able to increase the number of people that we need to give scholarship to. We want to target 100. So, Mr. Vice President, as an alumnus will speak, but Dr. Aki Baba Ahmed, Officer of the Order of Niger, OON, since you are this most beautiful, most cosmopolitan university in Africa, the university that shares border with beautiful lagoon front. I know you are a page older, but by the time not compatible, I don't think you're the right person. Yes. So when you are speaking, you are going to speak for the Vice President? No, you speak for yourself first. Then you speak for, and I did not do, Baba tell him that I was there. You speak for, and I did Victor Baba tell him that you met me. Speak for Akim Baba yourself. Speak on behalf of Baba Dynasty. So the difference I'm looking for, I have tried. God knows I have tried. Have I not? 37 people. 37 slots out of 100. So I cannot ask the Vice President of the Federal Government of Nigeria to come and donate money. But I can ask Akim Baba Ahmed to donate money. And I'm not asking for money. In fact, I've been told that you can even have Uma Shetima scholars. That's Uma Shetima scholars. They are scholars supported under the flag of Uma, the finance by Kashim Shetima. If you like, you can have Uma Baba Ahmed. It's also part of this. But I know you are likely to perform Umrah this year. And I know the cost of the Umrah. Okay, people are shaking when you're not performing Umrah. Okay, let's What is important is that for the rest of us, please don't let the donation be limited here. Every now and then, people lament about the situation in the country without taking a step to contribute. The University of Lagos Muslim Alumni has continued to make contributions. And part of that contribution that we are building manpower required to sustain our university. We are proud that today we have a 154 scholars that we have supported. Our target is to reach 1,000 in the very first stage. Help me, help Uma, and help this generations who are coming behind us to realize their vision of being able to do that 7 so far. Please, if you are in the audience, and you think I also support one, in memory of your father, in memory of your mom, as a Sakakati Joria, please don't hesitate. I did not know your name, but you are not doing it for me, you are not doing it for Uma, you are doing it for he who knows what is open and what is sacred. And do hope that by the time the vice president comes to speak, we will find a way of closing the gap and to reach 100. And finally, the immediate past vice chancellor of our university says we need to have a compendium of these lectures. On the authority of Mr. President, if I have that authority, I would say the last item I did in the office as president was to produce this compendium and a copy is available to the immediate past vice chancellor for reading. On this very beautiful note, step forward, step down, step up and be counted and be part of those who are building the capacity of our university, of our nation, by supporting the human scholarship. And I do hope before we go, I will see some of you I can harass enough. And if I cannot, then I'll leave the task to Dr. Akim Ahmed to speak on behalf of himself and on behalf of the Vice Chancellor to ensure that the remaining 63 slots are covered before we go here. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
To the immediate president, past president rather, of University of Lagos alumni. So, Omar Salah, to say example of prayer, pray to Allah to put his baraka in your endeavors. The former immediate past president of UMA already sets the pace to our next item, which is to hear from the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alhaji Kashim Shettima GCON, who is represented by the Special Advisor to the President on Political Matters, Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed. Kabirullah.
Today we do Ramadan fast, we go to Hajj. But in truth, there's no difference between us and people who are not Muslims. Our faith is removed from our responsibilities as Muslims. And Ramadan provides an opportunity, particularly in such difficult times like this. Ramadan gives us an opportunity to remember. Allah is not just going to judge the leaders, He's going to judge you and I. What do we do? Did we just simply protest? Did we break small rules? Did we break small laws? Did we bring up our children the way Muslim children to be brought up? Did we live our lives entirely as Allah wants? Whether you are in a leadership position or you are just a citizen. Do we remember many times that as Muslims there are codes of conduct we do not have the luxury to ignore? Nigeria will be better, a lot better. In spite of our challenges, if we remember that as Muslims, Allah demands us to live by a strict code of conduct. Be honest. Pray. Pray to Him for relief in times of difficulties. Help and support those who are weaker than you. Don't cheat. You don't need to be a leader to observe yourself. But I will leave it to you to ask, how many of us really live as Muslims? By the values of Islam. And that is my comment. I am afraid I'm a messenger, so I'm going to have to deliver the speech of His Excellency the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who, as I said, would have been here, unfortunately cannot. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I should begin by thanking respected brothers and sisters here for affording me an opportunity to reunite with my denominator. I appreciate the honor of making me a special guest of honor at this university by all accounts. As acknowledged as a defining contribution of alumni of this great university in contributing to knowledge and and understanding of the Muslim Ummah in our country and beyond. I look forward to the lecture that has on economic reforms in Nigeria, challenges and prospects for the future. I have no doubt that this will provide a major learning point for our administration, which acknowledges that key reforms are indispensable for good governance, although they always come at a cost. I look forward to learning more about theories, descriptions, and tested solutions which many analysts use as context for understanding our challenges and discovering their solutions. In the next few days, brothers and sisters, Muslims will commence the Ramadan fast. This is a period we look forward because it is a time for sacrifices we make with deep gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is also a month in which we are strongly encouraged to pray and expect to have our prayers granted. In Surah Al-Tawbah, ayah number 51, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, shall we be struck except by what Allah, never shall we be struck except by what Allah has prescribed for us. He is our protector, and upon Allah let the believers rely. Similarly, in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 286, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah does not burden soul beyond that which bear. The leadership of President Tinubu recognizes that this Ramadan will come with severe challenges for most of us. The road to where we are today was long and full of missed opportunities and tragic pressure to build on our great potential. Consequences of our past are the dark realities we face today, such as rising cost of living and pessimism over our prospects to turn around our economy in the direction of growth and inclusive development. Yet, my brothers and sisters, we do not have the choice of continuing in the direction that brought us where we are. We do not have the direction, and we do not have that choice. We have to fix this country, and failure to do this is not an option. All the options we have are difficult and challenging, and they have, without a doubt, more telling on the floor. If there are easier and lighter alternatives to policy issues we have adopted, we need them adopted. Our administration does not plan to make lives of Nigerians more safe. Nor do we intend to deceive fellow citizens that the change in direction and expected outcomes can be achieved without paying for sacrifice. We are also actively aware that ours is a set of related Nigerian problems in the Nigerian context. They cannot be changed by experiences of others or the practices of special foreign interests, which are removed from precedences and steps or errors of them. Fellow alumni, I appeal to you to help make space for our administration to achieve the goal of turning our nation around. As products of a distinguished institution, we have learned that progress is only possible if it is informed by criticism and critical thinking. We expect that Nigerians should express their feelings over our circumstances in a responsible and mature manner. We are also the easy and immediate people. And we believe in the power of faith and prayer. Let us be reminded that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests his servant with ease and hardship. And he asks that we pray to him for relief from hardship and discipline in times of abundance. I join you in praying that Allah will grant us the privilege of undertaking our Ramadan fast as prescribed by him, and we shall receive the reward of our sacrifice. I thank the leadership and members of our distinguished alumni for their commitment and dedication to our university and the Muslim Ummah. May Allah reward you for your services. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our country. Thank you.
All right, that was the speech of the Vice President. His Excellency Hazrat Bashir Shatima, as presented by the Special Advisor on Political Matters in the office, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed. And I believe he has also promised to take the charge of Umar to the Vice President in terms of the sponsorship of the scholarship program of Umar. So at this juncture, I'll invite the chairman of the occasion, represented by Haji Wale Shinaibu, to give the closing remark of this year's program lecture. I think we have had a very good session, and in closing this session, I think to have reiterated that there is hope for Nigeria. Because of the differentiation we have to do. But once the chairman closes, even the state senator cannot speak.
And we're reaching out the brilliant factors and celebration of our policymakers and our represented by
You must be ready to give sacrifice. You must be ready for discipline across board. Not say government show discipline. Even as citizens, we must show discipline. Government must be ready to reduce the cost of borrowing. Government must be ready to encourage manufacturing. Government must encourage what we call SSME, small and medium scale enterprises. Government must be ready to support agriculture. Government must be ready for industrialization. And even as citizens, we must strive. We must change the pattern. We have largely gone as a consuming nation. We must come to the realization that no country becomes great by being a consumption country. We must move to production. We must begin to encourage production across the world. Right? Government must be at the vanguard of strong advocacy and also lead by example. We must reduce cost of governance. We must encourage and buy made in Nigeria goods. Senator, I hope you are listening. We must encourage and promote made in Nigeria. Right? There must be strong political will to fight corruption and greed, punish infractions and deter bad behavior, which tend to promote economic sabotage. We are Nigerians and we can do it. We all have to face it squarely. Our strongest strength is in our manpower, God-given capacities as Nigeria. And for Nigeria to succeed, we must believe in it. Nigerians, wherever we are, they are always in the forefront, whether at home, whether abroad. So this is the time to call us out, to be determined and be ready to do it again. I hope they are all prepared to do it again. Inshallah, it is doable. Thank you all.
Thank you. I love the fact that the chairman used the application of the closing remarks to summarize all that we have listened to today and make them into action points. And I believe that all these things will that as a takeaway for you today. So inshallah at this juncture, the chairman has spoken so that at least we need to appreciate all of you that are here and all that has happened here today. So I invite to the podium here, Dr. Tawfiq, and please will to give the vote of thanks.
We give thanks to Almighty Allah that made it possible for us to attend this event, that also allow us to plan the event and have it successful. On behalf of Umar, I want to thank the Vice President, Alhaji Kashim Shettima, GCON, ably represented by Dr. Akin Baba Ahmed. Thank you so much, sir. I want to thank the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, ably represented by Professor Aisha Asenwa. All members of management here present, Professor Bola Obo, Professor N.O.C. Chukwu, the Director, Quality Assurance, Dr. Saidi. Our father, the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, in person of Professor Ramadan to say thank you for honoring us and honoring Islam. I want to thank the chairman of BOT, our daddy. Thank you so much for always being there for us. I also thank other members of BOT for this event because without them, we will not be able the content of knowledge, wisdom that they are giving us, we can't quantify it. We pray Almighty Allah continue to sustain your life and do more for us in terms of Islam. I mean, on behalf of Umar, I also want to thank the chairman of today, Professor Yusuf Olalu Ali, represented by my sister's husband, and I choose Wale Kulaki. Salam alaikum, sir. Thank you so much for this. We cannot but also thank the KBC, of water, for his presence and donations for today's event. I also want to thank the past presidents of UMA. You know, UMA is like we have a party that is being transferred from one executive to the other. And one of the objectives is continuity. It's what other people have done that we are leveraging on now. And at one time, they don't leave us for a second. They're always there with us. So I thank the past president, air president, and specifically thanking Senator Sani Afolabi Shuai for the role that has been played for the women in terms of scholarship, donation. He knows people to call, he knows people to write their names, even without their consent, they must abide with it. And we pray that 100, we will have more than 100. We continue to pray for success and this regime of yours and the federal government as a whole. Abuja and different chapters that we have our woman. I want to thank all professors here present, those that are not professors that are prophesizing. I want to thank our Ummah as a Muslim generally. I also want to say Jazakallah Khairan for all the ad hoc committee that put all this together. I cannot but to thank our president and our chairman, Alhaji Bakari, for putting all this together. I want to say I thank each and every one of us here present. Those that are supposed to mention their names that are omitted, please forgive me. You know we are moving towards Ramadan, the month of forgiveness. Have mercy on me. We are moving towards Ramadan, the month where you share and you give. Also, pray for me, because the month of Ramadan is that month. I think we know that Quran is revealed, and the gate of hell is going to be closed, and the gate of Al-Jannah is going to be open. Thank you so much. I can't mention everyone. I say thank you so much. And the Almighty Allah reward each and every one of us. I also want to thank myself for being part of the LOC that put this together. Thank you so much, our mommies. Thank you so much, our daddies. The Almighty Allah reward us abundantly. And we will have cause to come next year. All of us, inshallah, Jazakallah Khairan. Umar says, thank you, we appreciate you. Thank you so much, and the Almighty Allah reward you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Islam. And before we round up the vote of thanks, I would like to mention specifically, this is coming from the chairman of the LOC, Alhaji Bakari. We want to thank specifically Alhaji Tashiru, who are the donation of food for those that came in very early. If you are aware that we actually have the medical check-up this morning, and for a lot of people that actually work in putting this together. So on behalf of the community, we'd like to appreciate Alhaji Tashiru. That's one. Then secondly, we also like to present a plaque to the chairman of today, and that will be done by the president himself, Professor Fali Adekoya.
There's so much fear, there's so much hunger in the land. The way he has answered the way, we pray that Allah will set for us in Nigeria and answer our prayers, take away hunger, take away fear from us, and let us have rest of mind. Surah is rich. This is the life of our family. Maybe that is rich. Maybe that is society will say. Kaya berupa alat dan Allah tidak jauh dari orang orang. Allah bersedia dalam Muhammad wala Muhammad. Kamu sebagai orang wala Muhammad. Bapak jalan Muhammad wala Muhammad. Kamu barat jalan Ibrahim wala Ibrahim tidak ada yang tahu begitu. Maafin syarima Allah, maafin syarima Allah, obatnya
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
What's your name?
Okay, I'm Professor Olufemi Saibu, Director of Quality Assurance and Servicom for University of Wales. Well, in every university there are alumni association, and because of the way Nigeria is built, so we normally have the Muslim Alumni Association, have Migratory of Ife, so we have UNFEMGA, so Lagos, University of Lagos have the University of Lagos Muslim Alumni Association. So every year they to not only talk about spiritual aspects of Ramadan, but take advantage of that period to discuss some burning issues in the country. So they will bring experts from all over the discipline to come and discuss burning issues. So this year, they brought majorly people can discuss on economic reforms. And interestingly, and how important they take these programs, they brought the chairman of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, that's in person of Mr. Yusuf, who delved into issue of economic reforms. And today, we've seen the significance of the event, that the representative of the vice president said everything discussed by the two lead speakers will be part of what they are going to discuss in the Federal Executive Council meeting. So it means that coming to this kind of program is not in vain. discussing at this level is not in vain. That the government as well is listening, and as well the quality of what is presented today shows that at least is something that also can add to the government policy as well. I think we should encourage it further.
Ramadan, welcome holy month.